Wolfpack, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street. RotoStreetJournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves here with the final sit-start stream of 2024. I cannot believe it, but week 17 has already arrived, ladies and gentlemen, and we are here to make sure your lineups are absolutely perfect today. So if you're here, it means you're likely in the championships. Congratulations on making it. It is not easy to do, but really all that matters is bringing it home, making sure you get that final championship on the trophy cabinet. Get that pride that rivals holding your newborn infant. No, but thank you so much again for everyone who's been here, especially those of you that have tuned in all 17 weeks of doing this. It is so greatly appreciated. You guys have been so kind, so generous, both with your time and a lot of generous super chats throughout the year. You guys have been absolutely incredible. Making this truly a side hustle that I can actually depend upon alongside teaching my main job. I was worried I was going to have to get a second job to support, getting the new house and everything. But you guys have been so kind and generous. The website's doing so well. So I greatly, from the bottom of my heart, it's been an amazing year, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. But what you guys want is your championships, and we're not going to do any takeaways because what does it matter at this point? What we learned on yesterday's 3-game slate on Thursday, on the Christmas slate. Who knows when there's going to be football these days? You just roll out of bed and there's going to be something on the television for you. I don't know if I love or hate it. Like, honestly, it makes Sunday feel a little less special when you have football almost every single day of your week. But hey, who am I to complain? Because I know in just a few weeks, we're just going to be begging for football to be back. So thank you again so much for everybody that has been here supporting your guy. But again, all that matters now are your championships. So let's dive on into the news, the implications. Of course, fill up that mailbag. If at any point you need to cut the line and you want to show your support for your boy financially, Super Chat is the way to get ahead of the line and do so. My man Campanelli is in the mod seat, and he'll be checking out for all of those. So we will pause for anybody that is willing to Super Chat. So greatly appreciated, never expected, but thank you again so much. Free way to help your boy, though, as we get live here and try to get out to more people, is that heart button, that thumbs up button, the likes, the shares, the retweets, all that great stuff really does go such a long way. But let's dive on in here again to quarterback news to start us off. And there's a lot, unfortunately, for week 17. The big debate's actually going to be like, do we start moving our leagues to weeks 14 to 16 for the playoffs? Because we're seeing right now, CeeDee Lamb, all these stars getting shut down for the season a couple weeks earlier than we've seen it in the past. Needless to say, we definitely don't need 18 weeks of football at this point. I think 17 weeks was more than enough, but we know they're going to be going for their money. Let's dive into the news. Jalen Hurts is not going to play with a concussion. He's out against the Cowboys. Kenny Pickett will be making the first start of the year versus Dallas, who is giving up top 3 points to quarterbacks, but ideally you're not ranging down into the Kenny Pickett territory. I know there's some 2 QB leagues where you might be getting desperate, where you lost Jalen Hurts, and it's a matter of, do I go Pickett? Do I go Joe Flacco, for example? And I have a sleeper of the week that I do like one of these two more than the other. Ultimately, though, this is actually not a death knell for at least A.J. Brown. Nearly a 45% first read target share with Kenny Pickett last week. He had 98 yards and a touchdown. He actually, dare I say, looked better, A.J. Brown, with Kenny Pickett under center. Now, that was a 1-week sample size. Who knows how it will look this week? But at minimum, we know it did not kill A.J. Brown. Wasn't great for Devonta Smith, but I was actually pretty impressed with what Pickett did against last week in his fill-in duty, even though they, of course, Devonta Smith, that brutal drop there. Still, I really think this is not one of those situations where, oh my God, now we can't play our Eagles in the finals. What do we do? In fact, it might even be a slight bump up for A.J. Brown, which is crazy to say, but pretty true. And then you look at Saquon Barkley. Yeah, the offense was probably a little less explosive than expected with Jalen Hurts under center, but you also don't have to worry about, if we get it to the 1-yard line, am I going to get vultured? So I still keep Saquon right up there in my top 2 running backs in a tier alone with, he's just right up there. You cannot touch Saquon. Obviously, you wouldn't be considering moving him, but I did bump Gibbs up ahead of Saquon on that news. But again, we're talking about the running back 1, running back 2 of the week. Moving forward with quarterback news, we alluded to it, but Anthony Richardson has been ruled out, which does mean Joe Flacco is back in, which is honestly a humongous upgrade for every single weapon here. Maybe not as much Jonathan Taylor, although again, similar to Jalen Hurts being out, now you don't need to worry about a 1-yard line vulture with Anthony Richardson being there for Jonathan Taylor. Joe Flacco has a history of dumping it down, so I would say it honestly is even an upgrade for Jonathan Taylor, but we know it is the biggest of upgrades for Josh Downs and the passing game. Downs has seen 9 or more targets in every single start with Joe Flacco. We have a little bit more on Josh Downs later, but he is a plus 19 ECR on Josh Downs. I don't understand how nobody's reacting to this news. It is massive. He's a top 20 wide receiver for me because he's been a top 20 wide receiver every single time he has played with Joe Flacco this year. Last bit of quarterback news is Tua Tagovailoa has been downgraded to doubtful, is not expected to play. The season on the line, brutal beat for the Miami Dolphins, them facing the Browns here. And that is a humongous downgrade for Jaylen Waddle, who's expected to play, for Tyreek Hill, who's expected to play. Brutal. We saw when it was Skylar Thompson earlier this year, those two became borderline useless in those starts. And so I do not want to play Tyreek Hill, certainly not Jaylen Waddle either. If you have a Tyreek Hill question, let me know. But in most cases, I am going to be putting him on my fantasy bench. Moving on to the running back news. We've got about 100 of you to kick it off, 140 of you. Thank you so much for being here. Just a reminder, if you are willing to give us that free help, is the thumbs up button, the heart button. So greatly appreciated. And again, if you need to cut the line or you want to show your boy a little extra support during this holiday season, thank you for the season. The super chat is the way to do it. But thank you again so much for being here. Let's dive on into the running back news. Chuba Hubbard placed on the IR. Shockingly, as of Friday, head coach said we expect him to play. And then boom, this guy was having a monster season, nearly 1,200 yards on the ground. One of, if not the best pick you could have made in fantasy, in best ball, going right at the end of drafts, and was a running back one throughout this year. Had 30 points last week. Knocked me out in my league for sure. So brutal beat for Chuba Hubbard, injured reserve for him. But ultimately, with Jonathan Brooks now on IR, looking like one of the best picks you could also make next year. We'll see how valued he gets. But Jonathan Brooks did have to have a second knee surgery. He got a big bag, did Chuba Hubbard, this year, and well-deserved. And so ultimately, where does that leave us? Hopefully nowhere you need to go to in this backfield. Boone is probably going to start. Miles Sanders, I don't believe, was activated off the IR. There's talk that he could potentially be brought back in. We'll have a lot of Mike Boone, a lot of Raheem Blackshear. Could one of them fall into the end zone? Hey, it's against Tampa Bay. There should be points to be had. If anything, though, I think with Chuba Hubbard removed, this becomes even more on Bryce Young and the passing game, in particular Adam Thielen. So I did give a bump up to all of their passing game products there. In other running back news, Isaac Guerendo was limited in Friday's practice. This is ultimately looks like he's going to be ready to go. And we saw Patrick Taylor just completely take a dump on the field last week. And so I do think Isaac Guerendo is very much in play. Sure, it is a tough Detroit run D, bottom 3 in terms of points allowed to the running back position, but they have suffered so many injuries as of late and have been giving up plenty of points on the ground across their last 4 games in conjunction with those injuries. So I don't believe this is I can't play Isaac Guerendo, a guy who has been a top 20 running back across his 3 starts, has been a top 10 running back in 2 of those 3 games as well. We're talking 4.3 speed, 220 pound, just freak athlete. And again, with nothing coming from Patrick Taylor, I do think Isaac Guerendo can be in lineups. Now, some of the bigger running back news of the day, and maybe one of the bigger questions we might be getting in there, is Tyjae Spears, because Tony Pollard has been ruled out. And not only is he ruled out, he's ruled out against the Jaguars, the second most points allowed to running backs. Now, we have Tyjae Spears fresh off of back-to-back 21 or more point days in PPR leagues, seeing just 10 and 13 touches, and now probably going to see 18 plus this week. We have their Colt offensive coordinator saying, Tyjae Spears, the speed he's been playing at has been unbelievable. You see the burst, you see the change of direction in the pass game and the run game. With Pollard as beat up as he is, feeling the effects of the season, having Tyjae as this end of season boost has been really good. They're planning to feed Tyjae Spears today and let him rip. Good stuff there. And he will absolutely be in any lineup that I have him. Certainly at DraftKings at 5,400. The guy is going to probably score 20-plus points yet again, and ultimately is my running back 11 in my fantasy rankings. The last running back note I have here is that Tyrone Tracy is hopeful to play, according to Brian Daboll, as is Malik Nabers. We're going to get into wide receivers. In fact, let us just transition over to wide receivers. With that one, Nabers is expected to play. According to Schefter, according to Rappaport, it is looking like he's in. And again, I know it's just garbage quarterback play, but ultimately the Indianapolis Colts are a plus matchup, certainly in terms of giving up big plays as well. Sure, the guy only has one touchdown since week 3, came with Timmy Boyle. Would wish they would just start Tim Boyle for the sake of Malik Nabers' fantasy value. Sadly, they are not, but ultimately Malik Nabers, when he's got 10 or more targets in all but 1 or 2 games this year, you got to get this guy in your lineups. The volume is just too delicious, leading all players in expected fantasy points on the season, including backs, including whatever position you want. That's how good his volume has been. Yes, the quarterback play has been horrible, but he's still been able to maintain a quality top 24 wide receiver in nearly every start. So Malik Nabers should be in the lineup. Devontae Adams was listed as questionable, but according to Adam Schefter, he's expected in, and we've seen it 3 straight beautiful games from this guy. It looks like him and Rodgers are trying to hook up for Rodgers' 500th touchdown today. They're definitely, it's like Rodgers is trying to get his boy his money. You love to see it. You're certainly playing Adams in any type of format today. Chris Olave is not expected to play despite being listed as questionable. In fact, I believe he's officially been ruled out. Not that you're going to trust this guy with Spencer Rattler at quarterback in your fantasy finals, but it seemed like he might be able to squeak back in there. Not going to be happening. As we talked about, it does seem like Waddle and Tyreek Hill will be in, but their quarterback situation is abysmal. Skylar Thompson coming on in here. Would have been nice if Tua was in. Would have been happy to play either of these guys against a Browns team giving up the most big plays in the league. Maybe one of them can still get there. If I had to bet on one, it'd be Tyreek, but he is all the way down outside my top 30 wide receivers at this point, and I would be benching Tyreek Hill in my fantasy finals if I have him. I know, top 3 overall pick. It sucks. It's scary, but I'd rather play Josh Downs. I'd rather play Jaden Reed. I'd rather play Devonta Smith, Jalen McMillan. I'd even rather play over Tyreek Hill today. Not going there with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. No, thank you. Last couple notes. CeeDee Lamb done for 2024. He's been shut down for the year. Is there anybody we can trust in his absence? With Jalen Tolbert, he's questionable, but on track to play, it seems. And then also, we do have Brandon Cooks potentially in play. Still, both those guys well outside my top 40 wide receivers. It's just not something I want to go to. Now, Cooper Rush also got a big downgrade. He's a guy I had been recommending as a streamer. He's really been getting it done, Cooper Rush, over these last few weeks. Without CeeDee Lamb, though, can we really trust Cooper Rush? You know, I doubt it. If we're really in the weeds there with like Mason Rudolph, Aiden O'Connell, sure, we can go to Rush. He has been solid, 18, 12, 15, 19, 15. You know, nothing crazy, but definitely been getting it done there for this team. And ultimately, without CeeDee Lamb, though, I have fire up your Eagles defense. Fire up your Cowboys defense, too, against Kenny Pickett as well. I think that game gets a lot uglier. I forget what the over-under is off the top of my head, but most likely going to be hammering the under there. Christian Watson did not practice all week. The door is still open. He's listed as questionable, but seems like he is more of a long shot this week. Can you go to Wicks? Maybe. He scored last week. He is talented, but, man, you're not doing that. Hopefully you don't have to go that far in your fantasy finals. And the last note we have at wide receiver is Xavier Legette, questionable. Expected to play, but does it really matter? Adam Thielen has become the target magnet here. And against Tampa Bay, I love Thielen. Not going to. Maybe you get a Legette pony at the end of the day. I don't even know how cheap he is at DraftKings. Didn't even look that far. But don't want to play Xavier Legette despite the juicy matchup against the Tampa Bay Bucks. And wrapping up with a couple tight end notes, and then it's on to all of your questions. We've got about 50 of them in there. You'll love to see it. About 200 of you here this morning. We often do better than that, but I know it's the championship, so can't expect humongous numbers. But if you guys could hit that thumbs up button to help get us out to more people, it would be so greatly appreciated. Thumbs up, the heart button, the retweet, all that good stuff. Free way to support your boy. And, of course, if you need to cut that line, the Super Chat is the way to do it. But you guys have been so generous throughout the year. We've had days with 50 Super Chats. Absolutely insane. Thank you again so much for being here. And in the tight end news, David Njoku will not be playing this week. Actually, the one guy with DTR that gets maybe not a boost up because Jameis was so damn good, but didn't fall off too much. 14 and 12 targets in the games with DTR. Sadly, that's not going to matter this week. And Cade Otton is out, which also makes me feel even better about yet again rolling out Jalen McMillan, one of my favorite sleepers each and every week for the past 4 weeks. The man continues to get it done week in and week out. So I will be rolling out Jalen McMillan where I have him, and Cade Otton's absence only secures that target volume for him, who's at 3 weeks with 20% or more first read targets, really been bumped up in terms of his usage, in terms of production, route yards per run are absolutely insane as well. There are a few key defensive injuries to monitor today. Jaire Alexander did not practice on Friday. He seems to be trending towards out, which is big because that Packers-Minnesota game really has the upside to shoot it on out. And ultimately, I do think there's some upside there to everybody. Jaden Reed, obviously on the other side of things, Jordan Addison benefits from no secondary there. But I think that game really opens up. And I think Jaire Alexander being out only helps that. Sauce Gardner is questionable, did not practice today. He was limited on Friday, but still highly questionable. Ultimately, only helps. We know that Quentin Williams is also questionable as well. So maybe Josh Allen facing a Sauce Gardner-less defense. And Gardner's really taking a step back anyway, so it's not a huge deal. But any injuries only make that matchup that much juicier. And then Lattimore's out against the Falcons. I think that game has some real fun potential. All righty, Wolfpack. That does wrap up all the news and notes I've got. And so ultimately, we are going to dive into your questions after we hit the Verlo Sleepers. But we do have a super chat. Thank you so much, Mountain Man, for kicking off the super chats. It is so greatly appreciated. You've been super chatting each and every week, and I greatly appreciate all of your support, my man. Cook or Aaron Jones? I'm leaning Cook. I do think this is similar. We kind of heard it from the Bills last week. Josh Allen only 11 fantasy points, and he after the game said that's kind of by design. We just wanted to have the most vanilla game plan. We didn't want to show anything entering the playoffs. So if long as we are winning comfortably, we're just going to run and run and run. We saw it with James Cook, multiple touchdowns last week. The Jets are certainly a matchup that can be had on the ground. If Quentin Williams is out, even better for James Cook, but I still love him today. I like both these guys. You got the Aaron Jones revenge game, which is totally juicy. They're going to try to get him in, but that just did not work. And it's a very, very, that's so tough. Very tough call, but I am going to go James Cook with this one, have him just a little bit higher. In terms of the wide receivers, Jennings, Downs, Ridley, and then for defense, Tampa Bay or Indy. Call me crazy, but I actually am leaning Josh Downs. Again, plus 19 ECR on this guy. I do have him above Calvin Ridley. I do have him above Juwan Jennings, who both in their own right could blow up. But I just think the consistency with Joe Flacco, the volume is too good. And I'm actually, especially it's full PPR, I'm leaning Josh Downs in this one, Mountain Man. Thank you so much again for your support. Again, James Cook, Josh Downs. And for the defense, I would go Indianapolis facing Tennessee. Yeah, I am worried. Facing the Giants, even better. I think it's a beautiful spot. There's really nothing I'm worried about on the Giants side of things. So go Indy, my number one ranked defense. Go Cook and Downs is how I would play this one, Mountain Man. Thank you so much again, week in and week out, supporting your boy. And we got CJ coming in with a $2 super chat. Thank you, CJ. He's asking, Nabers, Jennings, McMillan, Spears, Tracy, one receiver, one running back, and one flex. Full PPR. So I am definitely going Spears at running back, locking him in. I would be going Nabers at wide receiver, chasing that volume there. So now it comes down to, for me, McMillan versus Jennings versus Tracy for that flex spot. Very tough call. I like all these guys. They all have a very solid case. I think I'm going to go with Tracy. The Colts can definitely be run upon, but they might just he's been rock solid, though, and especially with Drew Lock, he's been just a check down magnet for Tyrone Tracy. So I'm leaning with Tracy here. I like all these options, though, with McMillan. How many straight games with 14 or more fantasy points, 4 straight. Guy's been absolutely killing it. But I look at Tracy, he's got one dud and then a bunch of solid games in a row. 15-9, 15-19, 5-17. He's just been rock solid. I put him in. I kind of plugged my nose last week, put him in, and I did not regret doing so. So I'm going to lean with Nabers, Tracy, and Spears. I know multiple Giants also feels pretty hideous there, CJ. But those are the two. They're the entire offense. They're soaking in almost all the volume here. If you really wanted to pivot elsewhere, I think Jennings would be the next guy up for me. But again, I have to get Spears in. I have to get Nabers in. And Tracy versus Spears McMillan, very tough call. Trust your gut. But ultimately, I am going to go with Tracy myself. Thank you so much, CJ, for the support, and Mountain Man for the support, kicking off the super chats today. Now we will dive on in to the rest of the mailbag in just a second. But first, our presenting sponsor. Verlo Sleeper, the best mattress you can ever ask for. Danvers is where I went to. There's Verlos all across the country, but my boy Pat is here local in Massachusetts, runs the one in Danvers, right off Route 1, right by the Texas Roadhouse. It is absolutely incredible, the experience. You go in there, they do your comfort coach session. They get the exact type of mattress that is right for you. The discounts he's been giving out are absolutely insane. It is truly the best mattress I have ever slept upon. I've slept so incredible. I can't thank my guy enough for hooking it up with the best mattress in the game. Verlo Danvers. Follow them on all your socials. You can find their social info on our socials as well when we post our Verlo Sleepers post. But thank you again. Shouting out my guy. Check out Verlo Danvers for sure. The best, most comfortable sleep. And they present to you the sleepers of the week as well. And we're going with, at quarterback, Joe Flacco, coming off the grave here. He's made 3 full starts, but actually his first action came in the injury to Anthony Richardson mid-game. He had 15 points in the second half of a game. Then he goes off for 27, 15, and 14. So not incredible, but quarterback 4, 18, and 14 across his 3 full starts. Again, do I love it? No, but you know the guy has a 27-point ceiling. That came against the Jags, but he also now gets a matchup against the Giants. Not quite as juicy as the Jags defense, but not much farther off. So I think Joe Flacco can truly get it done. I love stacking him with the Verlo wide receiver sleeper. I know he's not available in a ton of leagues, but I saw him get dropped in multiple leagues this last week. And now that you got Flacco back, we're talking about Josh Downs putting up 22, 16, 20, and 14 full PPR points in the 4 full games with Joe Flacco. He was the wide receiver 8, wide receiver 17, wide receiver 14, and wide receiver 20 in those games. So never below a top 20 wide receiver with 9, 12, 9, and 10 targets in those 4 games as well. Love Josh Downs, firing him up as a top 20 wide receiver plus 19 ECR on Josh Downs this week. And then I have to fire up for my last 2 Verlo sleepers of the day. We're going to 2 Titans. The first one being Tyjae Spears. He's still out there in about 45% of leagues. Ultimately, if you're in your championship, there is zero reason to hesitate playing this guy. He's got 27 and 21.6 fantasy points in back-to-back weeks, and he did so on just 10 and 13 touches. We should be getting 18 to 20 looks now that Tony Pollard has been ruled out against a defense giving up the second most points to running backs, the third most receptions to the position. I think Tyjae Spears will absolutely crush it today. And last but not least is Chig Okonkwo, a top 12 tight end for me, still out there in nearly 80% of leagues. This guy has seen 21 targets the past 2 weeks, and he's been a top 12 tight end. I'm not shocked, surprisingly, when a tight end gets 11 and 10 targets across those games, he is going to be performing. You have the Jacksonville horrendous secondary on the other side of things, and this is all by design. In full PPR leagues, 14 and 19 points these past 2 weeks, tight end 6 and tight end 2 in those spans. It does scare me just a tad, but Nick Holtz did say that this has been by design. It's intentional. He's done a great job of being electric when the ball gets in his hand, quote. The second part is being down multiple scores, and defense are playing softer coverages. Tight ends are forgotten about, so he got a lot of checkdowns there, so it's a mixture of both. So, yeah, a little bit of game flow driven, but also the fact that he's been so electric that they're really trying to design more looks for Chig Okonkwo. So if you're looking for a tight end, this is one of my favorite streams of the week. Tyjae Spears, Josh Downs, Joe Flacco, and Chig Okonkwo, my Verlo sleepers of the week. Thank you again, Pat and Verlo, for supporting your boy. Great presenting sponsor. And again, the best mattresses in the game. If you are local, or even if you're not, come on up to Danvers. I'll have a beer with you. And then we will ultimately go to Verlo Danvers and get you a cover coach sesh. Love it. Thank you again so much, everybody. And we have a couple super chats now to get to, and then it's on to the regular scheduled programming. Benny T, thank you so much. I know you popped up in these super chats multiple times this year. It's so appreciated. Very generous of you. Thank you so much. Do we want Guerendo, Thielen, or McMillan? It's full PPR. He faced Higgins last night, but McBride brought you back. Love to see it back and forth. You probably, after the afternoon game, we're sitting there, my championship already nerfed here. And then you got McBride giving an uppercut saying, we're not dead yet. Love to see it, Benny T. Those are the type of matchups you love being a part of, too. For this one, you do need ceiling, and Well, Guerendo has had you've seen the 20-point days. I actually think Thielen brings the most juice here with Chuba out. They're going to need to lean upon him. He's getting a top 3 matchup for wide receivers. I just feel good about, in a full PPR league, a 10 to 15 target day for Adam Thielen being what you need. Now, I know McMillan, he's been very juicy. And again, let's just kind of rip through his stats these last few weeks in full PPR. 22, 19, 17. I mean, that is very, very impressive. The dude has 4 touchdowns in those 3 weeks. So I get it. I don't want to necessarily bench him. But I look at what Thielen's been doing, 24, 19, 10, 15. So maybe not quite as exciting. I don't know. Maybe I am a little too high on Adam Thielen. 10, 11, 7, 6 targets compared to McMillan in those 3 games, 7, 6, 7. So Thielen's workload seems a little bit more guaranteed. I love the matchup against Tampa Bay as well. He had 24 fantasy points against that team last time out. So I think I am going to ride with Jalen McMillan here. It is very close. You have 3 great options here. Benny T, because again, to talk about Guerendo, who I know is going to be brought up quite a bit on this show, in his starts so far this year, 19, 27, and 12 points, running back 10, running back 2, and running back 24. So very impressive himself. Not the best of matchups, though, against Detroit, even though it is softer because they are banged up. I still, I think I'm going to go Thielen, Benny T. This is a really hard question, though. But I saw Thielen nuke that team a few weeks ago. I think he's going to nuke him again. And that's where I am leaning, Benny. Thank you so much for the support and best of luck in that championship. I hope you can continue to climb the T. Higgins hurdle. And Chris Frazier, you come in every single week with Super Chats. It is so appreciated. Thank you so much, Chris. Let's get you this monster championship question. We need a receiver, a running back, and a flex. We got AJ Brown, BTJ, Bucky, and James Cook. Started Nico, left Higgins on the bench looking for upside. Ooh, that is a painful one. In all honesty, Chris, with the options you have, I probably would have done the same. I think I had Nico at wide receiver 2 on the week facing Baltimore. Looked like a blow-up spot. And then you had Higgins, questionable, probably going to play. But I get what you did. I don't blame you at all. And even these other options I have higher than Higgins in my rankings, despite him coming through huge. So, you can stare at that all day and feel depressed, and I get it. But ultimately, at least you weren't facing Higgins, right? Yeah, you blocked yourself from having to face him. Of these options, I am going to bench James Cook. You got A.J. Brown, again, nearly a 45% first read target share with Kenny Pickett. Had a monster 98-yard touchdown, 6 catch. The guy who's perfectly fine with Kenny Pickett under center. If not, some might say even better than usual. This is a abysmal secondary here for the Cowboys. We saw how many times? We saw Jamar Chase, but a couple weeks ago, put up 40 against them. And A.J. Brown coming in with 25 and 24. That's full PPR, so I'll go to the half settings for you since that's yours. But 20 and 21, 11 and 15 targets in back-to-back weeks for A.J. Brown since that squeaky wheel came out. And he's just a beast right now, so I cannot bench him, nor can I bench BTJ, my wide receiver 7. You're talking about my wide receiver 6, my wide receiver 7 here, 28 and 24 points himself with 14 and 13 targets for the past 2 weeks. He's at 12 and 10 the 2 weeks before that, going on an absolutely insane tear and going for potentially some rookie records as well. Wouldn't surprise me at all if the team is chasing those. So I'm definitely going A.J. Brown. I'm definitely going BTJ. So then it comes down to James Cook versus Bucky, and I can't turn down Bucky. You guys know I'm the biggest Bucky Irving fan in the world. I had him on every single league this year. And last time against Carolina, 25 carries, 152 yards, and a touchdown for a nice, healthy, in addition to 33 yards in the air. So nearly 200 total yards, 26 fantasy points, was the running back 1 of that week. Carolina is just that bad against the run. And 15 and 16 carries in back-to-back weeks. I know Rachaad White's a little bit involved still, but it still seems like they're trending towards more and more Bucky. And this is the right type of game flow for this guy to absolutely smash. So I'm going Bucky, I'm going BTJ, and I am going A.J. Brown. And thank you for the congrats on the house. Yeah, we're really starting to settle in nice. This is not the house. This is actually my in-laws' house that I'm recording from here. But ultimately, we did get a new place up in Beverly, and we're so pumped for Chris Frazier getting settled in for the holiday season and everything. It's been great. But thank you again so much for your support, Chris, as well as Benny T, CJ, and Mountain Man, super chatting your boy. And it just means so much here as we close out the season. That extra little bit of appreciation it goes such a long way to help us out. As does Fusion V, who consistently super chats his guy as well. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you as well, Fusion V. Thank you so much for coming in here. Thanks for all you do, man. Thank you for consistently coming in and super chatting like you do, Fusion V. Cousins are out. AR and Cousins are out. Flacco or Pickett. And played, projected to win playing for third. Yeah, I'm playing for third today too, Fusion. Never as exciting, but hey, getting that money back or maybe doubling the money, whatever it might be. There's something on the line. There's pride as well. So let's get that third place for sure. Between Flacco and Pickett, I am leaning Flacco. We just talked about him in the Verlo mattress sleeper section. Verlo Danvers, check those guys out. But ultimately, Flacco in his starts, it's been okay, and then one blow up. So we had him come in for a half, get 15 points. Next week he starts, he gets 27. The other two were tougher matchups too. He got 15 and 14 points in those. He's been the quarterback 4, 18 and 14 across his starts. So when you're looking for a 2 QB league, you're ultimately trying to get into the top 24 quarterbacks. He's done that in every single start. We know he has a 27-point ceiling. We know the Giants stink. Flacco's going to YOLO it. That's what we love about starting him. And so I'm going to roll with Flacco. I know Pickett's in a great matchup. He's got great weapons. I still would rather – we've already seen Flacco kind of put it together. Pickett was okay last week. Still think the ceiling is a bit higher with Joey F. in that one. Good luck, Fusion. Thank you again so much for consistently supporting your boy. It is so greatly appreciated. And all you guys, the 5 super chats so far today, you are so kind, generous. It's the best. And alrighty, guys, that does bring us to our regularly scheduled mailbag. Thank you again so much for being here. Again, a free way to help your guy is that thumbs up, that heart button, the shares, the right retweets. It all does get us out to so many people. We got about 300 of you here. Again, we've had Sundays with 2,000 of you. So I know it's Championship Sunday, and some of you just might be fantasied out. Maybe you're out of your leagues anyways. But thank you again so much for being here. Man, who has better upside, says Jilla Jones Drew. Nabers or Guerendo? I am leaning – that's a really tough one. I think if we were truly playing for just upside, I'd have to go Guerendo just because of the scoring up, the touchdown bets. If you're looking for true upside, you're probably chasing scores. And with Guerendo, we've got 18, 26, and 10 and half PPR, running back 12, 2, and 26. So, if you really need the ceiling, I do think Guerendo is probably the play. That game has that shootout style feel. But I have a hard time getting off Nabers because it's hard to say he doesn't have upside when he's gotten 14, 14, 10, 13, 9, 10, 11, 13, 8, 15, 12, 18 targets across the season. I mean, that is insane volume, but your upside's always going to be shackled when Drew Lock is your quarterback. He's pure garbage, and they have 3 total passing touchdowns since week 3, which is just abysmal. And Tim Boyle was one of the ones to throw those touchdowns. Daniel Jones was there's only been 1 touchdown to Malik Nabers. And I think only 2 total passing touchdowns since Daniel Jones has disappeared. So, yeah, the ceiling is definitely capped there, it feels like, with Nabers. And yet when you have that many expected fantasy points, eventually you think it comes to fruition too. So very tough call, Jilla Jones Drew. In typical times, I would probably say I go Malik Nabers here. But if you truly just need the biggest ceiling, the best shot at 20-ish half PPR points, I do think Guerendo getting multiple touchdowns is your best avenue for that. But yeah, I do think I'm going Malik Nabers in like 7 out of 10 situations. So it depends how bad yours is. Jilla Jones Drew. Ross H, what is going on? I hope you had a wonderful Christmas as well, my guy. Start 1 in the flex. Spears, Jennings, McMillan, or Tracy Jr. This one's easy for me. It is Tyjae Spears again. Back-to-back weeks with 21 or more points, and now going to be the featured back. So you're going from 10-ish to 13-ish touches to now 18 to 20-ish. Then the guy is a no-brainer, lock him in type of play today. Simp asking, with Pollard out, flex Tyjae or London, full PPR. And again, it's Tyjae for me. Top 12 running back in my rankings. I wonder how high I am against ECR at this point or if they've caught up. So I'm plus 7 ECR. He's the running back 18 in expert consensus. I have him at running back 11. But I am leaning with Tyjae Spears against Jacksonville. I think it's a no-brainer play today. Cameron Zick, 2 QB championship league. Anthony Richardson is out. So he needs Flacco, Rudolph, or Penix. Real tough spot. So again, I'm going back to the Burlow mattress sleeper. Cameron Zick, I am going to Joe Flacco. We know the floor is there. You're probably going to get 14 to 15-ish. We've seen the 27-point ceiling. We know the guy's going to try to sling it around The Giants matchup is fine. I love Rudolph against the Jags. I love the matchup on paper, at least. But Rudolph is just, is he going to do? You make all the Christmas puns in the world. Is Rudolph going to save Christmas for you? But ultimately, I'm going to go with Flacco in this call. Penix looks good, and I think that is going to be a potential shootout, but they just want to run and run and run some more. It's a low-ceiling offense for the passing game products there. So I'm going to go Joe Flacco there, Cameron Zick. And you're welcome for the help. Thank you so much for being here and choosing to take the help. I hope it has gotten you your championship or wherever you might be. Miami or Bucks defense for Ross H. I am going with Miami facing DTR. I know the quarterback woes makes me a little nervous about the defense and time of possession, but I'm still going to go with Miami on that one. Kimberly Smith asking Shakir, Downs, or McMillan at 2:30 a.m. I love to see it. People camping out overnight. And I am leaning with Downs in this one. I like all these options, but again, with the Flacco back at quarterback, wide receiver 20 or better in those 4 games with Flacco, 9 or more targets in every single one of those games. Just seems like a great floor. Similar ceiling to all of these guys, but Downs feels the safest of them. I love all these options, though, Kimberly. Great squad you got there. Bruneel Jacobs needs a running back, tight end, and a flex. B-Rob, Tracy, Ford, Devonta Smith, Hawkinson, Jonnu, or Chig, full PPR. So I do actually need to update my tight end rankings. I have Jonnu at tight end 4, and with the backup playing today, I think that is a little too high. I don't want to trust any Miami's pass catchers with Skylar Thompson at QB. So I am going to go Chig, which is crazy to be benching Jonnu for Chig at this stage. But yeah, that's where I am going to go. Let me just adjust these rankings real quick. Jonnu down below Chig. So I'm going to be definitely lower on him, but I'm going to go Chig for the tight end. The Verlo mattress sleeper of the week at tight end is Chig, and I'm feeling it, baby. Let's go. And then that bumps Tucker Kraft all the way to my tight end 5. Am I just gonna put Chig at tight end 5? Nah, I'm gonna yeah, let's do it. I love Chig this week. And then in terms of the running back spot, so you do have Hawkinson actually too. I am gonna go Hawkinson over Chig. So maybe Chig's gonna be the flex. Let's play this one out though. In terms of the running back, all these guys in the same tier, Bruneel, very, very close, very, very similar. I think I'm slightly leaning Jerome Ford here, and then maybe Tracy as the flex. I had to peek Bruneel. I like to try to answer these without my rankings. I actually have Jerome Ford 20, Tyrone Tracy 21, and B-Rob 22. So you couldn't have asked a closer question here. They are all lasered in, but I am going to go 2 running backs here. I personally would go Ford and Tracy, and then I also am going to go Chig over. I'm going to go Hawkinson at the tight end. So Hawkinson, Ford, and Tracy for that one. In terms of should I start Achane with no Tua or Spears with Pollard out in full workload, I personally am going Spears there. I do have bumped down Achane to running back 13. I think Spears is just too good of an option. And back-to-back 20-point weeks sharing the backfield. Now, I think he takes that thing over. And with 18 to 20 touches and a great matchup, I think Spears absolutely goes bananas against Jacksonville. King Retro is saying, no questions, roster is set. Just want to say thank you again for all the tips. It'll be a close one for the chip. Hey, King Retros, thank you so much. That's very kind of you to use your time to just come in and say thank you. You're the man. Thank you so much. Krana, what's going on? A few questions left. Hope to win the championship. Let's go. A few other ones I'm guaranteed to win. Had Higgins and McConkey both went off. Let's go. Great start to the Week 17 Sunday for you, Krana. Let's hear what else we can do for you. But before then, Andre's saying, Sup Wolf, need 1 flex, half PPR. B-Rob Jr., Guerendo, Nabers, Downs, Coker, Blackshear. Thank you. So half PPR gets a little closer. I limit this one down, so it's not going to be Coker or Blackshear. I'm not going to touch those 2 in this one. You got a lot of great options otherwise. I personally go to Nabers in this one. I was limiting it down to Nabers versus Guerendo, and I am just going to lean into the volume of Nabers. I know the quarterback woes are extremely real. I know Downs is very close here too because Flacco gives him a big boost up, but we're talking about a guy averaging 12 targets a game. I got to just keep riding Nabers. The matchup's good against Indy. Definitely generous at giving up explosive plays. So I'm going Nabers, and I am going And yeah, you only need one. So I'm going to go with Nabers for that one, Andres. Thank you so much. No Tua most likely in bad weather. Start Jonnu, Hawk, Ertz, or Ferg. I'm going to go with Hawkinson in that one, full PPR. Debo or McMillan, very, very close, Krana, but I'm going to go with Debo. And Kraft or Chig, full PPR, I think I lean Chig. Tough questions all around, Krana, though. Well done. Great team there. And then we got Tracy Guerendo or Madison. I would go with Guerendo and then Jaden Daniels or Josh Allen. Man, it is tough. I think is the weather. I think I am leaning Jaden Daniels for this one, Krana. I got asked that question earlier today, and I was like, you know what? My gut is just saying Jaden Daniels. And again, the vanilla type of offense they want to run right now is where I would lean. But yeah, so I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels over Josh Allen. I'm going to update my rankings to make sure they reflect that. Tommy Hurley coming in with a super chat. Let's go. Appreciate that. From South Boston. Hey, let's go, Tommy. And I love this again, reminding me to encourage you guys as you ask your questions. Even if you've already asked your question, just comment on in where you guys are coming from, and I'll rip through those after the questions too. It's so cool to see where you guys are coming from. So either include it with your question or let me know, even if you've already asked your question, you're just waiting for your answer. Would love to know where you guys are all tuning in from. It's great to see the outreach of where Rose Street is going. Tommy Hurley, though, from South Boston. I'm a Beverly guy myself, so we're not too far from each other, Tommy Hurley. Maybe we'll get a Roto Street meetup in the local area sometime, huh? But let's get this. He needs upside. Tyreek D. Smith or Judy at wide receiver. Oof. Tough question here. I mean, so I bumped down Tyreek hard because of the two likely being out here. I want to just see quickly what his games have been without Tua. Because there just hasn't been that much upside there anyways. But then you look at Judy, the DTR, don't see much upside there. You look at Devonta Smith with Kenny Pickett. He was just absolutely force feeding it to AJ Brown with nearly a 45% first read target share last week. So very tough call. I look at what he did against Washington. Devonta Smith, 6 catches, 51 yards. And then you got Judy, with DTR. I'm not going to trust that. So I guess my hope is that, maybe Tyreek just gets deep against a Cleveland team, giving up the most deep plays in the year. But it is ugly, isn't it, for Tyreek? I don't know, like any of this. And it doesn't say the scoring setting, so I'm going to assume half PPR. We're looking at Tyreek with the games without. Yeah, he's got 5, 6, 9, 1.8. I don't know. I guess I'm going to go with Devonta Smith. I feel like I don't think any of these guys have a ton of upside, Tommy. I'm not going to lie to you and try to BS you because you super chatted. As much as I appreciate your support, I don't like any of these options to have a ton of upside. But maybe the Cowboys do everything they can to shut down Devonta Smith, or rather AJ Brown, and ultimately Devonta can leak free. He had a 17-point game not too long ago. And I guess out of all the backup quarterbacks, Kenny Pickett is the one I think can facilitate upside the most, which again is scary. I don't know if Josh Downs is lingering out there. I don't know if I'm trying to toss out any type of option. Jalen McMillan, if he's somehow out there, has higher upside than any of these guys, Tommy. But ultimately, if this is what you got, is what you got. And I would say Devonta Smith would be my favorite option there. Thank you so much for the super chat, Tommy. I greatly appreciate it. South Boston, baby. There's some great Italian spots out there, too. Good stuff. Omar, happy holidays. What's up, Omar? That heartbreaker loss last week with the Josh Jacobs situation. I still am feeling for you, Omar. But thank you again so much for your support. So greatly appreciated, Omar. Needs one tight end between Chig, Kraft, and Ertz. It's full PPR. 20-point dog thanks to Lad cooking me. Oof, brutal. That is tough. So you need some upside. And honestly, if I'm going for upside, I'm going for Chig. 11 and 10 touchdowns. That'd be pretty absurd. 11 and 10 targets these last 2 weeks. Ultimately, the tight end 6 and tight end 2 in full PPR as well. You just need to go for one of those monster games. And I like Kraft. He certainly does the most with his volume. Like the shootout style atmosphere there too. He's probably the guy I would mostly just go to if I didn't need a 20-point type of blow-up. Ertz is a nice floor play as well, but Chig's the one with the ceiling here, Omar. So I'm leading with Chig. Nabers or Downs. That's very, very tough. I still go Nabers. Again, maybe I'm just a sucker, but I just keep chasing that volume. 13, 12, 10, 11. Every single game with 9 or more targets, almost all of them with 12 or more. The guy just gets absurd volume. I hate the quarterback play. I love that Downs gets it done with Flacco. Just to reiterate those stats for you, Omar, to help you make your decision. If you go Downs, I totally get it. 9, 12, 9, and 10 targets for Downs with Joe Flacco, 22, 16, 20, and 14 points. And that's been the wide receiver 8, 17, 14, and 20 with Joe Flacco. So you know the numbers. You know they're solid. You know what Nabers is dealing with. I still can't get myself off of Nabers. If you can and you want to go Downs, I fully agree. I think it's totally fine to do, but I personally go with Josh Downs. I personally go with Nabers just slightly over Josh Downs. Thank you so much, Omar, though, for your consistent support, for always being here for these shows. I love seeing your name pop up, and I really appreciate your generosity. Thank you so much. Then we got Jameson Williams or Debo. I got this question a bunch on Twitter this week. It is a painful one because these guys are both so good. They're facing off against each other in that shootout style atmosphere. And you're getting Debo, who's been a bust for the vast majority of these last, half of the season almost. And yet he comes off right now a beautiful game last week, making you think, okay, what do I do here? The wide receiver 5 with 21.6 points last week, 9 targets, 7 catches, 96 yards in the score, in addition to 25 yards on the ground on his 5 carries. And it's just like, oh man, is he now back to that focal point with all these injuries around him? And he looked good too. Like he's looked so fat and slow. I mean, we're talking though a guy that had 4, 2, 2, 4, 3 points leading into that one. And so I'm leaning with J-Mo right now. I think that offense is just absolutely cooking. And unless there's bad weather or something like that pops up where weather could be impacting them in San Fran tomorrow. Debo was the wide receiver 5 last week. J-Mo was the wide receiver 2 with 143 yards and a touchdown, 21 points. And at least the floor has been a lot higher, 9, 8. And this is in standard. So I'm going to go to half and just assume your half PPR as well, which is what I was doing with Debo. And you got 23, 11, 10, 7, 9, and 20 in the last 6 games. So solid, like a 10-ish point floor with a 23-point blow-up ceiling and then the shootout. I'm leaning J-Mo very, very slightly over Tebow. It couldn't be closer. They're within 2 spots in my rankings, Joe. Same tier. Love them both this week, but I'm going to go J-Mo there. Thank you so much, Joe, for the support. Kenny Moore, thank you for your super chat, brother. Needs a super flex. He needs 2 quarterbacks out of Mayfield, Young, and Flacco. Ooh, good question here. Mayfield, I'm locking in. Clearly, tiers above the other 2 guys, in my opinion. One of the steals of the drafts this year. Most of his games, I think all but like 2 or 3 have been 20-plus points. Going to keep riding that one against a bad Carolina defense. Young versus Flacco, very, very tough call. Young did put up 27 points last time these 2 teams met. 24 points last week as well. I had Flacco higher no, I don't know about that. I think that Tampa Bay matchup is too juicy. Flacco, that 127-point day, it looks good, but ultimately, the Giants are a good matchup for him too. I have these guys actually shockingly close, but I'm going to go with Bryce Young, that Tampa Bay matchup. And now you got Chuba removed, so they need to lean on the pass game even a little bit more, Kenneth Moore. So I go with that one. Thank you so much, Joe, Omar, Kenneth, and Tommy for those super chats. In addition to Fusion, Chris, Benny T, CJ Mountainman. So generous, 9 super chats on this championship weekend. You guys are so kind and appreciated. And we will continue to now mow through the regular scheduled mailbag here. We left off with Julie Weiss, but a free way to help your guy with nearly 400. We're starting to climb to the numbers we usually get, not the thousands range where we usually are, but hey, we'll take 400 today. That thumbs up button, the heart button, the retweet, the share, but especially that thumbs up on YouTube goes such a long way in the algorithm. Thank you again so much. Free way to help your guy out. And of course, some new names. We'd love you to subscribe. We're going to be banging out tons of content. I have my top 25 rankings, all my content at roadstreetjournal.com, including my week 17 rankings. Already did a 2025 big board, already updated it one time so far. So if you're itching to scratch that you want to scratch that fantasy itch even after week 17 is over, be sure to check in rotostreetjournal.com and subscribe to the channel as well. Let's get to Julie Weiss's question. Championship PPR flex spot. Let's go, Julie. We got Josh Downs or Amir Abdullah, and then tight end Kraft or Ertz. It is crazy that like Amir Abdullah is not even insane to be bringing up here. In fact, he's worthy to be brought up here. I believe he has 19 points in back-to-back weeks, like the potentially true league winner down the stretch here. So ultimately, where is Amir Abdullah here? He's my running back 25 and back-to-back weeks here. So full PPR, let me just pull up his numbers in that scoring format. Amir Abdullah has, it is 19 in back-to-back weeks, 19.6, 19.5. Good matchup against New Orleans as well. Very tough to bench the guy. I still do lean Josh Downs. I know you've probably heard the stats already, Julia. I know you got this question in early, but 9, 12, 9, and 10 targets from Joe Flacco, 22, 16, 20, and 14 PPR points. Wide receiver 8, 17, 14, and 20. I know he's not going to disappear. Whereas Abdullah is like as good as it's been, 19 and 19 back-to-back weeks, feels safe and steady. It still scares me. And then the tight end question, I do lean Kraft, going for the touchdowns, chasing the upside there. I think that is the way to go. What's going on, James? Good to see you. I teach high school special education, year 14 of teaching. I used to coach a little JV lacrosse as well. Do a bunch with the sporting games, the scoreboards and stuff. But yeah, I've been teaching for quite some time. Did middle school special ed for 5 years, and now I do high school special ed. Thanks for asking, James. And yeah, it's a great gig, and it works out great for fantasy. You have the summer off to do all the fantasy stuff. Falls get busy. There's no doubt about it when you're going back to back, kind of 2 jobs almost at that. But it has become a second job, thank God, because we've just had such great success. Your son's been a huge help as well, James. We love Mo over here. Sadly, I knocked him out of our Roto Street League semifinals, so I'm contending for the championship. That's the only championship I'm contending for, sadly, this week. But I got one over on my co-host from the offseason for sure. So yeah, I do special ed, though, high school special ed. Thanks for asking, James. Matt Carey. And reminder to comment in where you guys are coming from. I do love to hear it. Even if you've already asked your question, let me know where you're coming from. It's fun to see. Thankful to T. Higgins and McBride. Oh, man, you are absolutely in a great spot where you don't need points. You are crushing it so far, Matt. Well done. So we are chasing so if you just don't want a dud, so I love Brandon Aubrey. He's my kicker too, but if any team just like, Cooper Rush without CeeDee Lamb, are they really going to move that ball? If one of these teams is just going to get shut out, I could see it being Brandon Aubrey. I do prefer him to McManus, but I get where your mind is totally. I think it's valid. You had 13 from McManus last week too. That team's just not going to get erased. In fact, I think that game shoots out. So yeah, I like where your head's at, Matt. I do prefer Aubrey in most cases, but you just need to avoid a complete dud. And I think you're thinking about it the right way. So yeah, I would go McManus for that one. Bryce Young or Joe Flacco, TIA. H-Town's finest. I'm going Bryce Young. We talked about him, but I do think the 27 points last time against Tampa Bay, over 20 points last week out. I like Flacco too, but I am going with Bryce Young. He's my quarterback 14. He's pretty high up there this week for sure. Indy D or Tampa D for Giuseppe. I got to go with Indy against the Giants. I love that matchup. My number one defense of the week for sure. And Glenn, I see you answering a bunch of questions. I love it. Keep going. I'm not going to pull every single one up, but I love you helping out. It's awesome to see. Stewie Avila. Should I start Jay Smith or another tight end? I currently have the Titans. I do bench Jonnu for Chigo Konku. Not going to lie here. I'm worried about Tua being out. That passing game just completely evaporated earlier this year. Imagine if they had like a Jameis or somebody in the backup. I don't know why they didn't. They'd be very smart to sign Jameis this offseason for sure. So yeah, I get, and Glenn brings up a good point with like the security blanket, but I think Okonkwo, he is that security blanket. We're already seeing 11 and 10 targets these last couple of weeks. So I'm leaning Okonkwo over Jonnu Smith with the Tua news. I just don't want any Dolphins. And Nabers, Jennings, McMillan, Spears, Tracy, need wide receiver, running back, one flex, PPR. I would go with Nabers. You already super chat this one, CJ. So we went Spears, we went Nabers, and then I personally went Tracy over Jennings and McMillan, but very, very close call. Hey, Glenn, first-time viewer. Hey, where you been all season? You seem like a legend. You're helping people answering the questions. I think that's phenomenal. We wish you had you all year, but Glenn, please do. Not just trying to inflate the numbers. We want people like you subscribing, the guys that are going to come be active, engaged in the chat, helping each other out. We love what we're seeing, Glenn. Thank you so much. Wish we had you all year. Usually these shows get absolutely bananas too with questions, and we would love to have someone like you answering all these questions throughout the show. But thank you so much, Glenn. I'm glad you're here, first-time viewer. Please do consider subscribing to the show. We'd love to have you here long-term. And any other first-time viewers, let me know it's your first time here, and please do consider joining the Wolfpack. We'll definitely be pumping out content throughout the off-season. Robert Christensen, and Glenn, if this is your first time too, RotoStreetJournal.com is the website where all my rankings are. We have tons of phenomenal writers out there. It's awesome. It's just very, very great content. I love everybody on our site. We vet for really only the best minds. And so RotoStreetJournal.com is where you can find our written content. Of course, the YouTube channel is where you can subscribe to get there. Full PPR, Thielen or McMillan. And as Glenn is saying, I totally agree with Thielen here. He is Young's boy. Now, McMillan, again, 3 straight weeks with at least 1 touchdown, 4 touchdowns across his last 3, 17 or more in full PPR. I get it, Robert, but you also got Thielen, who had 24 points against Tampa Bay last time out, and no Chuba, even more likely that they just take to the air and kind of just let Bryce Young do his thing this week. So I do lean with Thielen as the number 1 in that one. Breece Hall, Guerendo, or Brian Robinson, full PPR. I do lean Breece Hall here. He ultimately gets a matchup against a Bills team giving up the second most receptions to back, the third most points to backs. And it just seems like he was back to being the guy last week. Very tough one. I like all these options, but I do lean to Breece as the best one for sure. Achane or Bucky for Bama fan, non-PPR. I have to go with Bucky, especially in the non-PPR format there. Bama fan 1. I do prefer Bucky, even if not, but Achane gets a ton of his value from the dink and dunks. He has been pretty solid no matter who's been at QB, so I don't think Achane is a must bench this week, but this does, with no Tua, move the needle. I would have had Achane as my running back 4. It dropped him down all the way to running back 13, whereas Bucky is my running back 9. I can't turn down that Carolina matchup. Last time these two teams met, he was the running back 1 in fantasy, had over 180 total yards, a touchdown, 26 fantasy points, was an absolute monster. And non-PPR, he still had about 25 fantasy points. So yeah, Bama fan, I'm going Bucky. Riding that one against Carolina. Such a good matchup for sure. We have Ship of Fools. Lost Hurts and Hubbard, but still had hope until Higgins dropped the 3rd TD. Oh, brutal. Don't lose hope, Ship it. You never know who could have a 3 TD day. But yeah, that was so painful for anyone facing T. Higgins. He was already going off on you, and then to just get the ball to the 1-yard line and then to get that fade. I mean, the man deserved it for the catches he was making. The guy was absolutely phenomenal. But does not hurt help your fantasy soul. That is absolutely brutal. Ship of Fools. Big Lou asking, half PPR, needs to sit one. Brown, BTJ, Amon-Ra, Achane, Spears, Tracy. Weather is a huge factor in some games today. So yeah, Big Lou, it is a big day for weather. So let me just pull up some NFL weather right now. One of my favorites is the Roto Grinders. They have a phenomenal weather page. So I'm going to just pull that up because I admittedly have not gone too crazy into this one. So line of storms through the Tennessee-Jacksonville game will bring heavy rain on the leading edge. Pretty good chance we see a delay in the game due to lightning, though it's a bit too early to tell. So that's got the orange. So I go by Roto Grinders. Kevin Roth, he's my favorite weather source out there. So the games that we need to be tracking, he doesn't give any games reds yet, but there are a few oranges, including Tennessee, Jacksonville, New York Jets at Buffalo. Very wet pregame, rain clearing early in the game. The later we go, the stronger the winds get. By the end of the game, we can see gusts around 15, so that's bad weather there. But again, it doesn't seem like anything's going to fully move the needle, like a yellow grade. He gives that. Carolina, Tampa Bay, the same line of storms will be getting there, so a delay is also possible. Gusty winds over 30 miles per hour if they're not in a delay when the storm line moves through. Man. So that could be possible with thunderstorm winds. That's not like a guarantee at all. Dallas and Philly, mostly dry, not fully dry, but some sustained winds, but nothing crazy there. Miami at Cleveland, winds are the big story. 20 to 25 mile per hour. So wind is really bigger deal than we have for rain. Scott Barrett has a great tweet about how like the fantasy point expectations and how they drop for certain amount of weather, and wind is the one that kills it. So this is actually like the biggest concern, 35 plus mile per hour winds. So even more reason. You already have the Tua downgrade for your Dolphins. Now you have the weather downgrade. And who are you really starting from Cleveland anyways at this point? If you were considering Judy for some reason with DTR, well, even more reason to bench these guys. And then Atlanta at Washington, scattered showers. Rain looks likely. Not a complete washout. 10 to 15 sustained with gusts around 30. So that's for the Atlanta-Washington game. Not great either, but only a few gusts here and there. So your guys, in terms of your game here, the only ones that seem to be getting totally impacted by the weather would be Achane and BTJ and Spears as well, I guess. So, yeah, you do have a lot of weather factors, Big Lou. Personally, though, I am sitting Tracy here. He's got a weather concern as well, and I just have all these other guys significantly above him because in addition to the weather concerns, he has the concerns of being on the Giants. So, yeah, I go with benching Tracy of these options. Great plans as well. All right. And then we have a couple more super chats. Oh, my gosh. Thank you so much, Brandon McWhorter. You're very, very generous. $10 super chat. And coming in from Baton Rouge. Nice. Awesome to see where we are reaching. And I really appreciate you letting me know where you're coming from too, Brandon. Let's dive on in. But thank you so much. What a generous super chat here. We need 3 of St. Brown, Bowers, Jonnu Smith, Khalil Shakir, and Abdullah. So I 110% am locking in Bowers and St. Brown. That's the easy one. Now, normally this would have been Jonnu, set and forget, but now we got one weather to deal with. A security blanket's probably better, so he won't be as impacted as the deep ball guys like Tyreek Hill. But then you got the quarterback concern also coming in. So I think, man, it's crazy, but I'm going to say Abdullah, Brandon, 19 points in back-to-back weeks and now you get New Orleans, a great matchup there as well. I feel like Scott Turner's using Abdullah kind of in like a Christian McCaffrey light role where he's getting a ton of receiving work here and certainly drawn up in the red zone. So I'm going to go with St. Brown, Bowers, and maybe crazy, call me nuts, but I'm going to go with Abdullah over both Shakir and Jonnu Smith. Again, Jonnu without weather, without Tua issues would have been clearly the number 3 here. But for me, I got to go with Abdullah. I feel nuts even having that come out of my mouth, Brandon. But yeah, that's where I'm leaning. And then second league, pick 4. Jaden Daniels. Is JD5 Jaden Daniels? I believe that's Jaden Daniels, right? So this must be a super flex question. If I'm not mistaken, JD5. I think that yeah, it is. Okay, I'm just making sure. I was like, the only reason I was questioning is because you're listing him with a bunch of flex players. So this must be a super flex league. I almost always go quarterback in Superflex League, and when it's a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, I guess the only reason I was questioning is JD5 is Jaden Daniels because why are you even asking about him? The guy is the absolute man, my number 1 quarterback of the week. Him and Josh Allen both have weather concerns, but both those teams, the Falcons and the Commanders, have a ton on the line today. So I think JD5 is a great play. In addition to him, I am absolutely locking in Bucky Irving, no doubt about that one. And then in terms of the other 2, I'm going to go with Achane, and I'm going to go – it comes down to Breece Hall. I mean, Porter's really been killing it lately too. I'm going to go with Irving, JD5, Achane, and the only one that's like I won't even consider him is Jonnu Smith. I love McMillan, the way he's been killing it, but I'm going to go with Breece Hall. Again, a top 3 matchup for running backs against the Bills there. Second most receptions allowed to backs. I am going to lean into that. So JD5, Achane, Irving, and Breece for me in that one. And in terms of the defense, I would go with Miami. Bad weather against DTR seems like a recipe for a ton of fantasy points. Brandon, very generous of you. Thank you so much, Brandon, from Baton Rouge, LA. Love to see it. Awesome to know we're reaching Louisiana out there. So great. I had a bachelor party out in New Orleans quite a few years ago at this point, but what a great time we had. We did all the tours and the Gator tours and everything. It's such a cool area. But thank you so much, Brandon. So greatly appreciated for your support. Just to summarize again, I'd go St. Brown, Bowers, and Abdullah, and then I would go with JD5, Achane, Bucky Irving, Breece Hall, and I would go Miami. Thank you again. Very, very kind and generous of you to be $10 super chat. Humbling this time of the year, especially the holidays. Thank you so, so much. We got Marcus Streeter asking Breece Hall or Ridley full PPR flex. Great question. You got Ridley against Jacksonville. Best possible matchup, getting a ton of volume, caught that deep ball touchdown. I'm still leaning with Breece Hall here, though. That Buffalo matchup, just a little too juicy for me to pass up right now. Full PPR, too. The dink and dunk game should be going with the second most receptions allowed, 2 backs. I think Breece Hall is a great play. I do really like Ridley, and I like him better with Mason Rudolph, too. So, Marcus, you're asking, this isn't a pretzel, but maybe the weather concerns. I guess there's weather concerns in both games, but I feel like the running game's a little bit more weatherproof in a way. Running back 18, wide receiver 20. They are right neck and neck right here. In Mason's 4 starts, we've got wide receiver 47, wide receiver 5, wide receiver 30, wide receiver 18. So a bit boom or bust, averaging 15 points per game, 25% target share, 2.45 yards per route run, 35% first read share. I mean, there's a lot to like about Calvin Ridley as well. And Jacksonville giving up the 3rd most points to perimeter wide receivers. I get it. Oh, man, this is a very, very tough question. But I feel like Breece Hall, you're getting 18-ish to 20 touches in a great matchup as well. You're much more guaranteed to work. Whereas Ridley, I know a lot of these games with Will Levis, but 15 points last week, solid. 7.5, 9.4, 5.5, 11 was solid. 7.8, though. It's just, I'm going to lean with Breece Hall. Less of the boom bust with similar ceiling to me. Thank you so much, Marcus, for the support. And thank you so much, Dan, for the support here. He's got Thielen, Wilson, Tracy, Nabers, Myers, Ridley. We need to pick 3. All righty, good options here. He has Adams and Bowers and Bijan fully locked. And I agree with completely locking those 3 in. And, yeah, I would have started Connor, too. He's been on such a tear. He was healthy. That sucks. But you need upside. So let's dive on in to this one. It's full PPR as well, so that does change a little bit for me. So with you already starting Adams, I do have a hard time going to Wilson. I don't see both these guys absolutely smashing, and with you being down, you need as much upside as you can get, and I do agree with going Adams over Wilson if I'm picking one of the 2 Jets guys. So then I do lock in Thielen, full PPR, 24 points against Tampa Bay last time. The clear-cut number 1 there for Bryce Young, and now you got Chuba knocked out. Might be leaning on the passing game rather, even more there. So I go Thielen, I go Nabers. I got to follow in full PPR a guy that's averaging nearly 12 targets a game. Gets tough between the next ones. Myers versus Ridley is what I limited to. I do love Tracy, my running back 21 as well. Dan, you got such great options. And what's tough is they're all in that same lumped in tier there. I do think this is where I would pivot to Ridley and go for the matchup. Man, do I like Jacoby Myers' matchup this week, though. But he didn't do much last week with Aiden O'Connell. I want to be like, oh, yeah, Aiden O'Connell, the league winner. That's the guy that's going to get it done for him. But I do lean with this is such a tough one. Because full PPR does make Myers even a little bit closer. And you just can kind of bank on it a little bit more. But I'm going to go with, again, Nabers. I'm going to go with Thielen. I'm going to lock those 2 in. The third one for me is going to be Calvin Ridley. The matchup against the Jags, weather be damned. I'm going to ride with that one. You need the upside. It's close, though, between Ridley and Myers and full PPR. Truly a coin flip. I mean, Tracy's right in that conversation. Oh, Dan, this is such a brutal one. The only one I'm clearly crossing out is Wilson. Guaranteed to go off the most. But again, when you're starting Adams already and you need the points in a matchup, it makes sense to maybe double stack those when you're facing the Jags, right? But not when you're facing the Bills, a solid enough secondary with weather on the way too. So Wilson's the only one I truly can cross off confidently, and not even that confidently. Definitely going Thielen, Nabers, myself. I would rank them Nabers, then Thielen, and then I think I'm just going to toss in Ridley, go for the upside. Again, he had a wide receiver 5 day with Rudolph, wide receiver 18 with Rudolph, in addition to a couple 30-ish days. So I'm going to go with that. Thank you so much, Dan, for your support. Great options. Very tough question indeed. All righty. Thank you guys so much. Up to now, about 500 here. Greatly appreciate all those super chats. We're up to 12 on the day. Certainly not going to get our record where we had 50 in a day, but hey, that's all good. And a free way to support your guy is that thumbs up button, the heart button on Twitter, the retweets, all that. And of course, subscribing to the channel, helping us climb. We didn't hit our 5K goal this year. We came damn close, only 500 away. You gained a couple thousand on the year. We love it. We're so happy to have you guys and so thankful for your support. We had left off on Big Lou, so we're at K, saying, are we sure John is going to be bad? No, we're not sure at all. He could be the security blanket. It's going to be bad weather. Maybe they do just dink and dunk and let him churn. I personally am going Chig, though. I'm worried about the quarterback. The quarterback has been, Skylar Thompson, abysmal all year. I really have no interest in playing any pass catchers. Bad weather in addition to it. Maybe Jonnu benefits from the bad weather more than the other guys. But I personally am going to go with Chig. 11 and 10 targets in the last couple of weeks. I'm going to let that rip. Kenneth Moore, Abdullah, Bigsby, Blackshear, and Brenton Strange, Superflex. Need 2. It's ugly, but here. You're here, baby. Let's go, Kenneth Moore. And thanks from North Carolina. Love to hear again where you guys are coming from. Keep that coming with your questions, or if you've already asked your question, still comment it on in, and let's hear. I am going to go with Abdullah as my favorite. Oh, man, it is ugly. I'm going to go with Bigsby and just hope another game flow works out for him. He gets into the end zone. I could see Blackshear being really involved with no Chuba today, but who knows what the deal is with Mike Boone. And, I can't pretend to know what's going to happen with those backs. I could see it in a full PPR, the dink and dunk game being there. I don't know. It's certainly, again, Abdullah is my favorite option, which has already started us on a tough foot, Kenny. But, oh, man. And Superflex, I assume you already have a quarterback in the Superflex. Let me just see. So Miles Sanders remains on the IR. Okay. So I was worried he might get activated. So I'm going to just quickly toss up Blackshear. Where does he land in the rankings here? Above Ty Johnson, certainly above Devin Singletary. I like probably over Algier. Oh, man, it starts to get pretty ugly from there. I'd probably just go with Tank Bigsby. Again, I know he's very game flow dependent, so I know it's tough to figure out what to do with him. Let me just see what he did. 1250 touch. Did he get the touchdown last week? No touchdown. God. This is Kenny, you got a tough one, man, for me here. I'm going to move on. I'm going to, again, just say Abdullah, Tank Bigsby, hope for a touchdown. I think the upside might be with Blackshear, though. You know what? Just whatever. YOLO, right? Abdullah, Blackshear. Track the news, Kenny. I will as well. And I'll be updating the rankings, too. After I sign off throughout the morning, I will still update the rankings. So if, I get a report, hey, Blackshear's about to be featured, yeah, you got to ride that one out over Bigsby. But Abdullah, lock him in. I'm never going back to Brenton Strange in my life. Screw that guy after last week. I'm going to go with Blackshear, I think, for the upside right now, though. Tyjae Spears or James Cook. I've been going back and forth on this one, Ben, all morning. They are my running back 10 and running back 11. And I officially did put up Tyjae Spears into the 10 spot just ahead of James Cook. Both guys are going to blow up today, but I do prefer Spears myself. Wolf, Thielen, or Tyreek for rain or half PPR? I got to go with Thielen. I'm not trusting Tyreek today if I don't have to. I think Thielen, a game where he had over 20 fantasy points against the Bucs last time, has been the clear number one guy for Bryce Young for this stretch run here. I got to ride with Thielen for sure. Run CMC. Hello. Start Spears over Achane with Tua out. I would go with Spears over Achane. Yeah, run CMC. I have it. Achane at 13 and Spears at 10. Very close, but I do lean with Spears there. We got Nabers or McMillan, Brees or Tracy Jr. Thank you. Thank you, Ronaldo. I am going to go with Nabers over McMillan. I'm going to go with Brees over Tracy myself. That's where I lean Ronaldo. Thank you so much. Hill or Coker, asks Alex. Oof, brutal. I mean, Coker had, one last week? I don't want to trust that guy. I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill there. Penix, Rush, Flacco. Pick one. Cooper, Rush, Flacco, or Penix. I'm going to go with Flacco, Robert Christensen, for that one. My quarterback 16. I like him this week. He's been the quarterback. Again, the Verlo sleeper of the day was Joe Flacco at QB. Ultimately has put up 27, 14, and 15 in his 3 full starts. He had 15 and a half as well. So he's looked pretty good when he's been tossed out there. And Giants are a good matchup. Severe storms and Jacks during the game. Worried to start him. Yeah, the storms are nerve-wracking, but ultimately it's – I still think that favors the running game in a way. Maybe a little more dink and duck. Maybe they hand it off more often. So we got to sit one, AJ, ATJ, BTJ, A-Chain, or Spears. Maybe that leads you to sitting one of these guys in the Jacksonville game, but I don't know. I can't sit BTJ the way he's been balling. I can't sit AJ Brown. A-Chain versus Spears. I do lean Spears, Big Lou. But hey, I totally get it. If you want to drop one of those guys from that weather game, I get it. New York Giants fan wanted Flacco to go crazy. There you go. Yeah, you keep losing there, Fusion. I understand. Is Miami going to play their starters? Stoner with a boner. What a name. Coming in. It doesn't seem like Tua's going to play. I think they still play their other starters, Stoner with a boner. Do I want to play them? No, I don't in fantasy. The only one I'm kind of considering there is likely going to be, what's his name? A-Chain. I am thinking, though, too, and Kyle brings up a good point. Huntley starting. We've actually seen Jonnu Smith have a huge day with Huntley. Huntley did love his tight ends in the past. We've seen it with Mark Andrews even, and he had like a 30-point day already. You know what? I am not going to – I was pretty hasty, so I hope those of you that were asking Jonnu or Chig are still here. I apologize if not. I was a little hasty in bumping Jonnu above – or rather Chig above Jonnu because we have seen Tyler Huntley. I completely blanked out for some reason. I was picturing Skylar Thompson and how bad this offense was. I still don't trust Reek. I still don't trust Jaylen Waddle. But actually, Jonnu Smith was getting peppered with Huntley at QB. So I do think Jonnu is still well worth keeping in the lineups for sure. So, yeah. And then that brings me back to Brandon. You had that super chat here, and I don't know if you already left, Brandon. So I do actually pivot back to Brandon. If you're still here, you let me know if you're catching this one. I hope so, because you super chat this earlier. I would have done the same thing, by the way. I would have benched Connor. I'd rather Abdullah to play Connor. It was too tricky to know. Injury flared up. It sucks. It's brutal. But we still have St. Brown, Bowers, Smith, Shakir, Abdullah. I still think Abdullah versus Jonnu Smith is close, but Tyler Huntley does love peppering his tight ends. And you need to make a comeback, full PPR. I got to go back to Jonnu. I'm trying to find his one game with Tyler Huntley at QB. And so I have to add Huntley into my QBs anyways. So that's a very, very close call still. But let me get Huntley into my QBs here. And I'm just going to quickly remind myself in full PPR what Jonnu did for this one. So I'm just pulling your super chat back up, Brandon. Thank you again so much for this one. But I do want to make sure I update this fully with the right info. I, for whatever reason, was picturing Skylar Thompson, and it's Tyler Huntley at QB. The last news on him was 9 weeks ago that he was on the IR, so he should be set. But assuming it is Tyler Huntley at quarterback, his last start was against Indy. And I remember Jonnu had a huge day, if I'm not mistaken. So Jonnu against Indy in a full PPR league. Let me just pull that up. 22.6 PPR points, 7 catches, 7 targets, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Tight end 2 of that week. Yeah, I'm going to go with Jonnu. I'm going to pivot here, especially with you needing the upside. I'm going to go St. Brown, Bowers, and Jonnu Smith there, Brandon, and repivot that one. I hope you're still here. I'm sorry if you're not. Shoot me a DM either way at Roto Street Wolf and say this is Brandon from the stream. And hopefully we get there for you. Garrett Wilson or JMO when you're already starting Gibbs. We saw it last week, JMO and Gibbs. No problem starting both those guys, and I do prefer JMO. And I am going to go with Chig. Stress level at 11 after Cup's performance. Brutal. Cup has just been brutal, RJ. But, yeah, I'm going to go JMO, and I'm going to go Chig for that one. Got burned with Fairbairn and Connor. Terrified to start HM with Terra without Tua. Seen what he looks like without Tua. He's still been, okay without Tua. But, yeah, I get it. I'm totally there for sure. Nick Shaw saying, just join. I'm sure I've missed the Pollard out, start Spears, but would you start Spears over Garrett Wilson? Yes, I would. I agree. It's definitely a heavy amount, Nick Shell, of Devontae Adams as they try to, it seems like Adams is trying to pepper his boy and get him money. And since Garrett Wilson yelled at Adams on the sideline, the targets have gone down. And he's the type of guy to be spiteful like that. So I totally get it. It looks like Campanelli confirming it is Snoop Huntley at QB. So that does definitely impact Jonnu. But yeah, I am going to go definitely 110% Spears over Garrett Wilson. No doubt about it. And then we got Jelly of the Month asking, flex half PPR, Jayden Reed or Tyrone Tracy. Ooh, I kind of think Jayden Reed blows up. He had 30 points last time out against Minnesota. I think this game shoots out. And I'm going to go with Reed very, very slightly over Tyrone Tracy. It's so close, Jelly of the Month. But yeah, I'm going to lean into that game in the shootout, hopefully, this week. Superflex Championship for Kenny Moore. Second QB, Bryce Young or Flacco in this championship. I'm going to go with Bryce Young very slightly over Flacco. No Chuba Hubbard to lean on the game more. He had over 25 fantasy points last time against Tampa Bay as well. Oh, we already got this one. Please don't repeat the questions, although now I see you're from cold Canada. Good to see, RJ. I appreciate your support. And I'm going again, Spears over Garrett Wilson, but please don't repeat, guys. We are going to move through all the questions. Don't you worry. Jay Reed with Watson out or Downs with Flacco. Man, it is very close. I am bumping up Reed as we speak because Watson being officially ruled out. And the ceiling play here is definitely Reed. So this is one TP where I hate to do like the classic, like go for ceiling here, go for floor there. But your context would help. Like if you face T. Higgins, you need a blow up. As much as I have Downs 11 spots right now ahead of Jayden Reed, and yet I would start Jayden Reed in that situation. Now, I am bumping Reed up. I prefer him over Myers. I prefer him even over Debo at this point. I love Jayden Reed. I do. I think he's going to light it up this week. Do I prefer him over Thielen? Probably. Nah, I think this is a good spot for him. So most cases, I do have Downs higher. I go Downs, especially in full PPR. Again, just to reiterate the safety of Downs here, 9 targets in all of Joe Flacco's starts. No worse than the wide receiver 20, 22, 16, 20, and 14 points in those games. It's beautiful. You can't really get much more consistent than that. And so if I'm like in a 50-50 battle, if I'm a heavy favorite especially, I'm definitely going with Downs. Only if I face, T. Higgins, or only if I'm a 40% to 60% and I need a boost to upside type of situation, would I go with Reed over Downs. So I do prefer Downs myself in a full PPR. And Miami or Indy, literally my top 2 defenses. I do have Indy slightly higher than Miami, but that weather might, the weather might flip that. It's bad weather in both, but it sounds like it's even worse in Cleveland. So you know what? I'm going to flip my rankings here. I'm going to go with Miami facing DTR instead of the Colts facing Drew Lock. Both are going to be great defenses either way, but I'm going to go with Miami TP. Good luck. Happy championship week to you as well, Walt. Thank you so much for being here. Pick 2 between Garrett Wilson, Debo, Jerome Ford, and Rico Dowdle. I am leaning Debo, and I think I'm going Jerome Ford for the other one, Walt. Very close between Ford and Garrett Wilson. Debo is my favorite here, though, and then I think I'm going Ford. Dan asking, I have Adams and Bowers starting. Should I start Wilson and Myers, Thielen, Ridley, or Tracy? Full PPR. Good context to have. How much into these offenses do we want to get? So we need 2 of these guys. I am going to go with Thielen as the wide receiver above the other 3, again, just to avoid overloading 2 offenses I don't love today. And then in terms of the flex, Ridley or Tracy is very tight. I personally am going to go with Tyrone Tracy, Dan. Very, very close question there, though. Morning Wolf, originally from Everett, but just moved to Weymouth. Hey, another Mass guy. Love to hear it. South Shore kind of sucks. You got to get to the North Shore. Beverly, Mass, baby. That's where the legends live. But South Shore, you do have Vitamin C Brewing. Love Vitamin C Brewing. I have a buddy that lives out in Hingham, and I do like visiting them a lot, but North Shore is certainly where it's at. South Shore Bar Pizza, though, Johnny Kono's, I believe the place is. Love that pizza. Hot honey salami, laced. Can't beat that. That's the only thing I do like about the South Shore over the North Shore. But, man, good stuff, though. Thanks for letting me know where you're coming from. Let's get that championship. So Tony. We already – we need to pick 3 for you, Dan. So I would go Thielen, Nabers, and if I don't want to overload on the Jets, I could see going Ridley actually instead of Tracy in that one. What's up, Josh? Great to see you, brother. Thanks for getting me to the ship. Hey, thanks for getting me into a home. Injuries are crushing me with Hurts out. Full PPR. Who would you bench out of these three options? Debo, Guerendo, or JMO? And then Purdy's my QB with Hurts out, and my opponent is starting Goff. Going to be a huge Monday. You do have a big Monday night. That's going to be a fun game to have a lot on the line for. Oh, man. So we got Purdy, and I think that's a great spot. I have him +3 ECR, Josh. I think that's fine to pivot to him. And if I have Purdy, I do think I'm going Debo. Then it comes down to JMO or Guerendo. Yeah, I do want to stack my guy, though, Debo. But that's like also, do you just load up on every single touchdown that the 49ers score and get Guerendo in there? Because, again, we got 26, 19, and 10. Full PPR, it's even more points for Guerendo in his starts. He's been a top 20 running back in all 3 weeks, top 10 in 2 out of those 3. The upside's very real with Isaac Guerendo. JMO's been absolutely killing it, though, and you kind of want that other side of things so this game opens up if you're playing the DFS mindset there. I guess it comes down to how much do you trust Debo. I thought my eyeball test said he looked pretty damn good last week. He was on my bench, and I was I lost because of it. Definitely stung to have Debo on the bench when he was the wide receiver 5. But again, JMO was the wide receiver 4 last week. So I do have JMO just ahead of Debo in my rankings too, even though you're already stacking, even though you have Purdy. So I definitely go JMO. I think I lock him in. I think I'm going Guerendo as long as he's full and everything feels good. Taylor looked absolutely atrocious. The guy's been a multi-touchdown threat every single week. I don't know, Josh. This is a very, very tight one. Definitely text me tomorrow because we're going to have to be deciding this one tomorrow. And I'd love to help you out as I kind of get more of a gut feel. We get a little bit more info on Guerendo. But if I'm deciding today, I'm going JMO and Guerendo. I'm just kind of securing every single player. And you know what, too? A lot of this, Josh, is going to come down to what spot are you in against your opponent? Because let's say, you're the favorite. You've got a 40-point edge. Then it makes way more sense to play JMO and balance out him and Goff. But if you're a super big underdog, then you want to just bank on 49ers going crazy, Purdy throwing a touchdown to both Debo and Guerendo. So we got a lot of context to play out here. But if I'm deciding today, I'd go JMO Guerendo. But we'll see how the match is playing. You got my number, Josh. You can hit me up anytime, and we'll figure that one out tomorrow based on where your matchup's at. We got Andres asking with Tua out, Guerendo, Achane, or B-Rob. I still go Achane with Snoop. I don't think it's a huge death now to have Snoop Huntley there. My next man up would be Guerendo if you really want to avoid that game, though. No Tua means sit Achane, Daniel Caps. We've seen what he looks like without Tua. Let me just pull it up because I don't think he's been that bad. You can't, survive without Tua. Maybe he has, though, Daniel Caps. I know the receivers I certainly am not trusting. And I did bench Achane down in the rankings down to 13. Let me see what we got here. So in the games, I'm just going to go half PPR scoring here. So games without Tua, 7.3, 4.4, 2.2, 9.5. Oh, yeah, it is. It's worse than I thought. And then Tua came back in week 8 and back to 23 points for him. So, yeah, 7.3, 4.4, 2.2, 9.5. That is sketchy. That is very, very sketchy. I feel a little bit better with I'm going to keep bumping him down, actually. I might even go Guerendo over him, Josh, if you're still watching at this point. But, he's a fringe top 20 running back now for me, Achane. I am sketched out by it, and I'm sketched out by the weather. I thought he was a little bit more matchup-proof at that point. Scott Squires with a $1 super chat, but I don't know what your question is. It's not attached. So my man Campanelli, we'll be on the lookout for that. If you don't mind, Campanelli, let me know when you find that one. We will be looking out for that. All righty, Andres, we just answered that one. So we're at Blair, Butters, Guerendo, Blackshear, Downs, Thielen, McMillan, or Dobbs. Running back premium. I don't know what a running back premium means. If you got points per carry or something like that. But, hey, running backs are more valued in this format. So if running backs are more valued, I think Guerendo is in the same tier with Downs and Thielen. I think those are the ones I limit this to. I would rank them Guerendo, then Downs, then Thielen. But I don't know exactly what you mean by running back premium. Because in most situations, I would go Downs, Thielen, Guerendo. But if running backs are significantly elevated, Blair, I would lean into Guerendo there. Championship game, looking bleak for me. Currently have A-Chain and Flex with Addison on bench. I would Phantom, especially if it's looking bleak. If you're an underdog, I would pivot and go to Addison here. Again, we've had under 10 PPR points in all the games that Tua missed. So I do lean with going another way. And Addison's a great way to give you some hope. He can truly blow up at any minute here. I'm just trying to find Scott, who super chatted us. Scott Squires. Here it is. Thank you for the super chat, Scott. But again, anybody else that wants to cut the line, you can super chat. It supports your boy financially, and it is so greatly appreciated, as is all of you being here. We're at 550, though. Heart button, thumbs up button, continuing to help us grow. We have about a half hour left. In about 10 minutes, I will go into a rapid fire mode so we can try to get to as many questions as we can. If you want to make sure you get an answer, a super chat's the way to cut the line. We need to start one of Dowdle, Tracy Jr., or JMO, standard flex. This one, Scott, comes down to Tracy versus JMO for me. I don't really want any Cowboys in my lineup with no CeeDee Lamb. I think they're just going to get completely stuffed against a good front seven. So no Dowdle for me, no thank you. I do like Tracy. Great production these last few weeks. But in a standard, you want big plays, you want touchdowns, and I lean JMO in a Monday night shootout for that one. Thank you so much, Scott, for your support. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. All righty. We then left off here. We were at Blair, and so we are now on championship game. We did that one. We're going Addison. Standard lost Jalen Hurts, needs a QB. Joe Flacco, Bryce Young, or Aaron Rodgers. I like Bryce Young, actually, Robert. Against Tampa Bay, good matchup. Had 24 against them last time out. And with no Chuba Hubbard, I think they really lean on him. Need one flex and two receivers. Jennings, JMO, McMillan, Guerendo, Spears, and Tracy. I'm locking Spears into the flex, so now we need two more wide receivers from this bunch. And I would be going with, I think, JMO and Jennings and just play that game shooting out. Love McMillan, love what he's doing, but a little bit of weather concerns. He's just a couple spots below those guys for me. So I go Spears, JMO, and Jennings in that one, Robert. Troy needs some upside. Don't forget, guys, comment where you're coming from. Love to know that stuff as well. And, of course, a reminder that all these rankings will be live at rotostreetjournal.com. Right when I hang up, I will retweet them out at RotoStreetWolf when the update is done. Troy needs upside. Guerendo over Evans. Nah, if you need upside, you got to go with Evans. That does suck in the spot you're in. Kyron and Chase Brown, you think you're getting like 40 combined points, and boom, they kind of lay an egg. But yeah, I like Mike Evans. You need upside. Who has more upside than that guy? Chris Steiner, thank you so much for the super chat, brother. Half PPR, need one. Debo, Guerendo, Spears, or Reed. I would lean Spears on this one. I love Tyjae Spears today. I just absolute beast. 21 or more points in back-to-back weeks, and that was with 10 and 13 touches. Now going to get the featured load. The weather, it scares me a little bit, but not enough to not play him. I'm a huge fan of Spears right now. Absolutely cooking and going to continue to cook as well. So I lean with Tyjae Spears. Thank you so much for the support. Blair Butters saying, first, I don't know if you first, quite a few questions before you, but hey, you're here. And you already asked that one. We don't want to repeat that one. Out of these four, which two would you start for Crixie? We got Jerome Ford, JMO, Guerendo, Tyjae without Pollard against Jacksonville, and Bryce Young or Flacco. So I'm going Bryce Young. We've had that one a bunch. I think a lot of people trying to fill in the Jalen Hurts void, asking about Bryce Young versus Flacco, and I do go Bryce Young there. And then in terms of the other ones, Tyjae, JMO, Ford, or Guerendo, I got to go with Tyjae for sure. And then I think I'm going JMO slightly over Guerendo for that one, Crixie. Very close between JMO and Guerendo, but Tyjae is my favorite. And then I think I go JMO over Guerendo, but you can kind of play that out tomorrow. Crixie, like Guerendo, a little bit more safe of a floor for 10 plus, whereas JMO better bet for like 20. You'll see kind of what you need. But I'm going to go Tyjae today and then kind of play that one by ear. Eric Velez asking, start two, Ford, Spears, and JMO. I would be benching Jerome Ford in that one, Eric. Joey Ford started James Conner. Did anyone else? Yeah, completely screwed a lot of people there. He got banged up. Yeah, it sucks. Brees, yeah, it stinks. A lot of people played him. It's yeah, I don't know if it was limited, Dan. I think what happened was his knee flared up and he just kind of played from there. So we should have, I think that's something I should have baked in my rankings a little bit more, is the risk of a re-aggravation. I don't think it was like they deliberately limited him though. We see. Thanks for another great season, Nick. Hey, let's go DJ championship I made. I'm an 80-point favorite after Puka, Trey, and Lamar. Could have been even crazier if I played T over AJB or Jefferson, but hey, I wouldn't have done that, and you are already in great shape here, DJ. Love to see it. Phenomenal stuff. Let's go, baby. Thank you for always being here, DJ. Greatly appreciate the support each and every week. I benched Abdullah to play Connor and got burned. Yeah, a lot of people. It sucks. But Connor was riding like a 20, 25-plus streak. The matchup was good against the Rams. I don't blame you guys. I would have done the same thing. And it burns. It certainly hurts. But, yeah, I would have done the same thing. And so now we soldier on and we find the right plays from there. Mario Lugo, Flacco, Rudolph, or Penix. I would go with Flacco for that one. Lost Kamara and Hubbard. The freak, it's absolutely brutal. I totally agree. And part of me is starting to want to make a push that weeks 14 to 16 should be our championships. It stinks with bye weeks in week 14, though. So it's like, what do you do? How do you balance it out? But, yeah, we're starting to get like week 17, 2 weeks early. People are benching people. We got H-An Spears or B-Rob. I'm going to go with Spears. And I think this is where I go H-An. But, again, it's like, those numbers are pretty uninspiring. But I think Huntley, a lot of those came with Skylar Thompson. There's only one game with him. He had like 9 points in that one. So I'm going to have him at running back 19. I'm not going to go any lower. So, yeah, I'm going to go Spears, and I'm going to go with H-An for that one. Fire Channel TV, I see you answering some questions. Love to see it. Thank you so much for helping everybody out in the chat. Let's go. Love to see you guys supporting each other. We got a kicker question for Brian Warhatch. Aubrey or Will Reichert? Yeah, the weather and lack of offense, I totally get that. The fact I had Aubrey is my number 2 kicker. I'm going to fix that for right now, though. I just think it is too high for him. I would bump McManus even ahead of him. We had that conversation earlier. I know, totally. I'm like, why is he asking like a JD5 question with all those flexes is really where the confusion came from. It's like, it's got to be Jaden Daniels. I know that JD5 is Jaden Daniels, but where's he come? Why is his name even coming up with all these flex players? Fire Channel. I was like broing myself though. I totally agree. Is JMO over Ford crazy? Not at all, Eric. I would totally go JMO over Ford myself. I am going to go with Jonnu. Again, the Tyler Huntley just peppering his tight ends narrative I believe in, and that's where I would lean for that one. Ryan Guess. Oh, we did get a super chat. So, Ryan, I'm going to put you on pause. The bearded one. And it looks like Campanelli pulled that one up for me. Thank you, Campanelli, for tracking that. I am just trying to – it's hard for me to read on my screen. So here is $2. And then now there's the question. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, bearded one, for your support. Osborne, tough call. I'd go Downs, but I'm probably too harsh on H-An. I don't see a question in there. He's answered some questions and he tossed some support. I don't see the bearded one a question right here. He's like telling Sarah to go Laporta, and he's telling Osborne it's a tough call. He's being too harsh on H-An. Thank you, bearded one, for your support, but I don't see your question here. I don't care, but if you try a quick Control F of the chat and see if anything's there, but I think he's just helping people out as far as I can tell, bearded one. So we'll be on the lookout for it. But thank you so much for your support. If you're just tossing some money to support it, you're the man. And if we have a question, it does look like Campanelli has tracked down your question. Sent 2 super chats because I'm dumb. Tracy or H. Hey, it's greatly appreciated. I'm sorry that you're dumb. No, you're the man. Tracy or H. and full PPR. Brutal question, the bearded one. Because, again, H. and I just dropped down to my running back 19. I have Tracy at running back 21, but I just also feel like he might be a little bit safer. So I think I am going to bump H.N. even below Tracy here because, gun to my head right now, who would I go? As good as H.N. is, you got bad weather. You got Huntley at QB, and any game, he hasn't put up more than he hasn't even hit double-digit points, Bearded One, in any game without Tua. And so that does it has to worry you. It worries me. And I think I would just feel safer going Tyrone Tracy, especially with check down magnet Drew Lock in at QB, Bearded One. I'm going to go with Tracy, and I'm going to make sure my rankings reflect that. Gerard Q asking, half PPR, Thielen or Hill? I would go with Thielen 10 out of 10 times over Tyreek Hill with Huntley at QB. Those two have never shown a rapport together. It's better than Skylar Thompson, sure. Still, bad weather, deep ball probably neutralized. And Hill's just stunk even with Tua at QB. So give me Thielen in a great matchup against Tampa Bay, the best possible matchup you could ask for. And then Bucks D, Browns, or Dallas. I kind of like Dallas against Kenny Pickett in some bad weather today is where I am leaning for that one, Gerard. Thank you so much, guys, for your super chat. If anybody else would like to cut the line, we are getting close to we did get one more super chat right as I was about to hop into the rapid fire mode here. Brian Dunsel asking, with no Tua, Achane or Tracy? We just had that one, and I went Tracy. I flipped it in my rankings as well. And then Adams or BTJ, half PPR. Oof, that is a brutal one. I feel like ultimately you got weather concerns in both. It seems like a little bit more concerning there in the Tennessee-Jacksonville game. Oh, man. I got to keep Brian Thomas, though. And Tennessee's been giving up some big games to wide receiver ones lately as well. Snead hasn't been great, but him being out for the year has made them even more generous. So I'm leaning BTJ, and I'm leaning Tracy, Brian Dunsel. Thank you so, so much for the support. It's so greatly appreciated for sure. All righty. We are at hold on. It seems like there's been a big back and forth between Fire Channel TV and answering a bunch of questions. So, hey, good stuff. I appreciate it. Helping people out. We are going to go to rapid fire mode. We had left off on Ryan Guess here was where we were. Guys, thank you so much again. Final show of the 2024 season. You guys have been incredible. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you again. One last call for a thumbs up button, a heart, a share, a retweet. Would be so greatly appreciated. All these updated rankings will be at rotostreetjournal.com. Before we do fire up the rapid fire, we did Jose Laredo coming on in with a super chat. Thank you so much, Jose. McMillan, Pittman, or Madison at flex PPR. I do think ultimately Flacco at QB has made Pittman a lot more in this conversation, but I'm going to keep riding McMillan. Again, 17 or more full PPR points in 3 straight weeks, 4 touchdowns losses across his last 4 games. He's seen his first read target shares at 20% or higher in 3 straight games. Yards per route run have been pristine. The guy's blossomed in front of our eyes. The weather could be tricky there, but ultimately I am going to go with Jalen McMillan, Jose Laredo for that one. Thank you again so much. All righty. And Ryan, guess the rapid fire is about to start right here. Let me just pull up a timer, and we will be taking off and getting to as many questions as we can. One last call again. Those thumbs up are so greatly appreciated. We will go for 17 minutes till the 10 o'clock buzzer, and we start now. I'm definitely going Guerendo over ETN. That one's not really even close for me. Even if you have Black Shear, it's still Guerendo for sure. Jimmy Giant, start 1 receiver, 1 tight end. Nabers, Jennings, Debo, Hawk, or Chig. For receiver, I am going to go with Nabers, and for tight end, I am going to go Hawkinson, very slightly over the Chig. Very close, though, there. Sonsolinas, full PPR, pick 1. Kendre, Tracy, or Blackshear, 100% Tracy for me on that one. Darnold or Purdy, I'm going Purdy very slightly, Ryan Guess, for sure. Abdullah or Kokar, I am definitely going Abdullah for that one, for sure. And then I'm going Purdy myself, like them both. HN or Bucky, it is not even close. It is 110% Bucky for me. Devonta Smith or Ridley, I am going to go with Ridley, that great matchup against the Jags despite the weather there. I have a good feeling about Purdy this week. Let's go. I do like Purdy myself. I love the Monday night hope factor as well if you're looking for a reason to pick hairs between them. Guerendo, Blackshear, Downs, Thielen, McMillan, or Dobbs, running back premium. Again, I don't know what running back premium means, but I do. If it's running back premium, I go Guerendo. But otherwise, I would go Downs as my highest rated receiver here. Brian asking another super chat. Thank you so much, Brian. Nabers or Thielen, full PPR. Ooh, Brian, it's very, very close. I do think ultimately I lean Nabers. The volume is just so good in full PPR. It gives you such a good floor there. But I do lean with Nabers slightly over Thielen. I love Thielen's matchup. I think the ceiling's a little bit higher, actually, with Adam Thielen against Tampa Bay at 24 points last time out. But I do love going with Nabers today. The volume is just too good. Got to keep chasing that one for sure. And we have another Nabers question here. Tracy, B-Rob, Nabers, London need 1 running backs and a flex. I'm going to go Tracy for the flex, which does make it closer between London and Nabers. I would still go Nabers for that one as well. Need 2 starts out of these 3. Aaron Jones, Bucky Irving, and Tyjae Spears. I am going to go with Tyjae Spears and Bucky Irving myself. I love Aaron Jones, but man, those other 2 are in my top 10 running backs for sure. Pickett or Rudolph. I would go with Rudolph against the Jags, I guess. Goff or Love. I'm going to go with Love. I love Love, and I think that's going to be a shootout-style game, so I prefer that one for sure. Nabers or Jacoby. I got to go with Nabers on that one for sure. And yes, Spears over Achane, 110%. The dude has had 20-plus points in back-to-back games, and ultimately now has no Pollard. He's done 20 more points in 10 of 23, 10 and 13 touches, and now he's going to probably have 18 or 20. HMUS has not put up 10 points with 2 out of the lineup. So, I feel pretty good about Spears over HM, but hey, you go you. It's all good, man. Horrible picks. I don't know why you're still here then, Fire Channel. Go on out there. Omar, Tyler Huntley starting today for Miami. So thank you, Omar, giving us some good context there. Can't start A.J. Brown without Hurts. No, you can start A.J. Brown without Hurts. He had a 45% first read target share with Kenny Pickett and then 21 fantasy points, 15 total targets. Good, Brandon. Good you're still here. Yeah, I did pivot to Jonnu because Huntley does love peppering his tight ends. Start Spears over Nabers or Garrett Wilson. Yes, I would start Spears over either of them, Matt. Weather looks bad everywhere. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be tough. Was thinking of playing Devonta and Hill, but thinking about benching Hill for Thielen. Oh, yeah, I would. Whether or not, I would go with Thielen over Hill. No doubt about it this week. I was looking at the game log, trying to put 24 points with Huntley at QB. Yep, I think I caught that one while we were going live too. And Brandon had the same thing as well. So yeah, I feel better about Jonnu. He's right back to my tight end 6 of the week. And yeah, you're going Thielen. Gerard, stop repeating your questions. Needed every point that 13 to 16. So Brandon, you're welcome, brother. And thank you again. Very generous $10 super chat. So kind of you today, Brandon, over there in Baton Rouge. Plus, Waddle is looking like he's going to be going to sit. So more looks. Oh, so that's a pivot, Omar. They were optimistic before, but sounds like with Tua out, they might just be kind of calling this one a wash. 0 from Fairbairn. Yeah, what an absolute tool, Kyle Turner. Kyle Turner, absolutely brutal. I'm going to go Tracy, the bearded one, over HN. I know you super chat. There it is. There's that question. I'm the 2 seed playing the stacked 1 seed. Good luck, Kyle Turner. Absolutely. Reichard or McManus, I'm leaning Reichard there, the bearded one, for sure. With no Tua, would you play Jonnu still or Okonkwo? I do go Jonnu very, very slightly, given that he gets absolutely peppered by Huntley, who's just always loved peppering his tight ends, for sure. And one last call, Wolfpack, for that thumbs up button, the heart, the retweet, the shares. We're going to keep rapid firing. We got another 12 minutes of the rapid fire, but let's go. And rotostreetjournal.com is where you can find all of our content, including these updated rankings when this is done. Dolphins, Eagles, or Colts. I like the Dolphins the most, but those are my top 3 defenses. Like them all there. HN or Bucky, it's 100% Bucky for me, Bama fan. And then we are at Bucks, Cowboys, or Browns. I like the Cowboys in that one, Gerard, for sure. Dobbs or Tyreek. I don't think you're getting upset from Tyreek with Huntley, so I'd go with Dobbs, Tommy Hurley, and just hope for one of those random 2-touchdown days. I'm going BTJ over Devontae Adams. Pick 2, Bucky, Bijan, or Gibbs for Rowan. I'm going Gibbs, and I'm going Bijan there. Man, you got some great options, though. Whew. Hurting at QB with Richardson out. Mac Jones, Penix, or O'Connell. I would go Penix there, I guess. Reed or McMillan. I would go with Reed, little race fan. Downs or McMillan. I would go with Downs, Brian Sandoval. Sitting Tyreek all over. I agree with you, Chris Cote, for all the reasons. The wins, the Snoop Huntley. It's a no for me too, dog. Love that one. I would go Nabers over Thielen very slightly. Downs or Achane. I'm going to go Downs at this point, Matthew Osborne. Don't trust Achane with Snoop Huntley. Scott Squires, Dowdle, Tracy Jr., Jamo Williams, standard flex. I would be going with Jamo for the blow-up, Scott Squires. Achane or Tracy, I'm going Tracy. Cool with going with Goff or riding with Flacco? I'd rather go with Goff there, Michael Lopez, for sure. Dwight Schrute sits 1. Thielen, Myers, Nabers, Downs. I would be sitting Myers in this one, Dwight Schrute. For JMO and Spears, I would be starting Spears and JMO, Eric Velez. Dowdle or Abdullah? I am going to go with Abdullah in this one, Brandon Jacobs. I actually got to make sure my rankings reflect that, but I don't want anything to do with Dowdle with Cooper Rush at quarterback with no CeeDee Lamb. I think that whole offense stinks. And then, so that one is at 9:33, but we have a super chat. So I'm just going to remember 9:33 to come back to. And then we had Tyler Atwood. Thank you so much for the support, Tyler. PPR flex, Thielen, JMO Williams, or McMillan. I would be going with, in a full PPR, I'm going with Thielen. I love all these options. Very, very close. But last time against the Bucs, this man had 24. He's the clear target hog there, which plays into the full PPR scoring settings. So that is where I lean. Greatly, greatly appreciate the super chat, Tyler. Alrighty, back to the regular scheduled program. Sarah asking Jonnu Smith or Laporta. Good question here. I think I lean maybe Laporta, but they have 2 great coverage linebackers there, do San Fran. I probably just keep riding Jonnu Smith. Again, 22 points with Tyler Huntley there. Half point Downs or Achane. I'm going with Downs there. Thank you. Great show. Happy New Year. Thank you, Robert Williams, for being here. I think I don't know. I think I might still go Sam Laporta. He's on a hot streak right now. I think I ride that over Jonnu on second thought, Sarah. So that's the bearded one answering some questions. So I'm going with Dolphins, Colts, or Eagles, P-Tat. I'm going to go with the Dolphins very slightly in that weather against DTR. I love it. Rashad White, Brian Robinson, Tyron Tracy, Guerendo, and Devonta Smith need to fill RB2 and flex. I would go with Tyron Tracy and Isaac Guerendo. Alfonso would be the 2 guys I go with that. And then we got Blackshear, Cooks, or Zacchaeus. Lost Hurts and Hubbard facing Lamar and Higgins need big points. Oof, you're desperate for big points. I don't know if you're finding them with these 3, but I think Cooks is the best bet for some points, I guess, in that one is where I would lean, unless we get reports that Blackshear is like the clear-cut lead guy. Madison, McMillan, or Pittman, PPR. I would go with McMillan at the flex, Jose Laredo. I'm going Spears over Nabers, Hector. And then Dwight saying, how much should weather play into Bryce versus Flacco? I just like Bryce anyways. And I would go Love, though, 110%. No. Okay, so we got 2 questions here. Bryce versus Flacco and Baker versus Love. So I prefer Love over Baker now with these weather concerns, and then I prefer Bryce over Flacco. There's better weather there, but I prefer the matchup against Tampa Bay myself. And then we got Nabers or Thielen. I am going to go Nabers very, very slightly over Thielen. Good morning to you, Dustin Wells. Ultimately, of these ones, hold on, I'm just bumping down Baker and bumping up Jordan Love in my rankings. All right, there we go. Just wanted to make sure that was taken care of. Just slight weather concerns for Baker right there. All right, Dustin, B-Rob or Thielen. I'm going to go with Thielen in the flex there. Love that matchup against Tampa Bay. After Connor, are we not concerned about Nabers having a toe? I guess, Dwight, but he said something every single week, and he keeps getting through. We got 600 of you live for the last 7 minutes here. Please do consider that thumbs up button. Help us get out to more people. We'll definitely be able to mow through the rest of these questions. And again, the rankings will be at RotoStreetJournal.com. And lots of new names. Please consider subscribing at RotoStreetJournal on YouTube or at RotoStreetWolf on Twitter. Thank you again so much, guys. Last show. I can't believe it. London or Thielen. Oh, man. I'm going to go with Thielen there, Zachary Michael. I'm going to make sure my rankings reflect that as well. PPR flex, Adam Thielen, JMO Williams, Jalen McMillan. I'm going to go with Adam Thielen very slightly over JMO Williams. Great options, Tyler Atwood. Rudolph or Rush. I'm going to go with Rudolph Michael Judah. And I want to make sure my rankings reflect that, but I'm worried about Rush with all those weapons now banged up. Dowdle or Zacchaeus. I guess Dowdle and you hope for a touchdown. Coker or Tyreek. I'm going to go Tyreek when you're going that low, but I don't love it. Harrison. Start 2. Nabers, McMillan, or Reed need the highest ceilings. Highest ceilings are Reed and honestly McMillan. The floors with Nabers and that target upside. But when Drew Lock's your quarterback, you don't really have much of a ceiling. So I'm going McMillan. I'm going Reed if you really need the ceiling the most. Probably the worst question for you, Kendra or Blackshear. Not a great one, but I'd go Kendra. He was the featured back at least in a good matchup this week coming up. Blackshear, Cooks, or Zacchaeus. I would go Cooks if you're down by a lot and just hope that he becomes the number one option in the passing game. Billy Wayne asking Achane or Kendra. This is where I definitely would go Achane, Billy Wayne. I am worried about him without Tua. Hasn't hit 10 points or more without Tua, but I still, over Kendra, he hasn't had 10 points like ever. Half point, Downs or Myers. I would go with Downs, Matthew Osborne. Stop repeating your question. Achane or Debo in the flex. Half PPR. Thank you. I would go with Debo over Achane at this point. Rashish Puri. I'm worried. I am worried about no Tua. Coker or Jonnu. I would go with Jonnu for sure, Harrison Mayo. Tyler Huntley, for all his faults, he loves to pepper his tight ends. Josh Allen or Jane Daniels. I'm going to go with Jane Daniels today. I'm changing in my rankings. I'm going Jane Daniels. Jags, Cowboys, or Commanders. D. Feliz Año Nuevo, Lobo. Feliz Año Nuevo to you too, Tomas, over in Panama. I'm going to go with Cowboys. I think they swallow up Pickett and get yourself a pick six or something like that. Tyreek Hill or Garrett Wilson. I'm avoiding anybody in Miami other than Jonnu Smith and maybe HM. I'm definitely benching Tyreek Hill. I'm going Garrett Wilson there. Cam Jimer asking, one flex in full PPR, Brian Robinson, Thielen, or McMillan. I like Thielen the most there, Cam. Very, very close call indeed. Spears, Downs, or Thomas Jr. I like Spears out of those. No, I like Thomas Jr. actually out of those ones, Sega Man. Ford or Robinson. I'm going to go with Robinson for that one. Are we concerned about Thielen's hammy? He's been playing great these last few weeks, Dustin. I'm not concerned. I don't know if something flared up that I didn't see, but not that I know of. Young, Rodgers, or Flacco for Sega Man. I'm going with Bryce Young in a good matchup against Tampa Bay. Spears or Nabers. I'm going to go with Spears in that one, Crook County TV. Love the guy. Verlo sleeper of the day. Verlo Mattress Stampers, our presenting sponsor. Thank you again, Verlo. Anthony Corzin, Jalen McMillan, Jaden Reed. I have Baker and Mike Evans. I like Jaden Reed then spreading the wealth just a little bit there, Anthony Corzin. Wilson, McMillan, or Isaac. I'll go with Isaac Guerendo in that one, Anthony Placencia. And then we got, can I start Spears over Hall? Yes, I in fact have that in my rankings. I have Spears ahead of Hall. Again, a guy that's gotten 21 and 27 fantasy points on 10 and 13 touches. What can he do with 18? I can't wait to find out. My league has the championship next week. Oh, brutal. Yeah, you should be worried, Chris Frazier, but also a bunch of studs this week. You saw CeeDee Lamb, Chuba Hubbard. They're starting to like a week early. So, yeah, I think it's going to be even worse next week, but it has been brutal. We did get a super chat, so let's fire this one up. One running back, one receiver, one flex. Devonta Smith, Amir, and Jalen McMillan, and Tracy for first of his name. A lot of good options. We got to bench one of them. I think I'm going to go with Tracy, Jalen McMillan, and Amir Abdullah as these options here. First of his name. Devonta Smith, I am a little bit more worried about with Kenny Pickett than I am A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown just vacuumed in targets as Kenny Pickett locked in on him. So I'm benching Devonta Smith of those options. Thank you so much, first of his name, for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. Tyreek McMillan, Guerendo. I need to pick two. I would be benching Tyreek and going McMillan and Guerendo there, Josh Sun. Flacco or Rush, I would go with Flacco, Michael Judah. And then D, special teams, either Colts or Dolphins. Dolphins with no Tua makes me want to lean Colts now. Yeah, I guess a little bit more time of possession, but again, you got DTR and bad weather on the other side, so this is the same question here, B. Ogrid. We're talking about my defensive 1 and 2. I love both these guys. I've flip-flopped back and forth. I am ultimately going to settle on the Colts as my number one defense. I know I've gone back and forth, guys. I am a little worried, though, of the ability of this team to keep pace for sure. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Colts for that one over Miami. Again, my second defense, though, is Miami. I have them both. They're both going to be good today. Both some weather concerns against bad offenses, so I love it. And you're welcome, first of his name. And that does wrap up the rapid fire. Thank you guys so much. That is a 10 o'clock. I've been flipping back and forth too. I agree, Cam. You go with your gut. I guess I'm going with the Colts, but we shall see. But thank you guys so much. An awesome final stream. 22 super chats. You guys were so kind and generous throughout this whole season. It is so greatly appreciated. It's been a wonderful year over here at Roto Street Journal because of all of you. Such great shows each and every week. On your way out, one last call for a thumbs up and one last reminder that all of these rankings will be live at rotostreetjournal.com, where we breed and feed you fantasy wolves with tons of other great content up there for you as well. Would love to have any new names subscribe to. We're going to be going live plenty this offseason. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube so you can be here for all of the actions But again, happy New Year. Happy 2025. Go get those fantasy titles, Wolfpack. Let me know how you do. Maybe I'll do it next week, early next week. I'll do 2025 rankings or something so you guys can come on in and let me know how your title games went. I can't wait to hear all about it. But thanks again so much. In a world full of fantasy sheep, guys, be the wolf. Best of luck in Week 17 championships. Go take them down.